Everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello there.
And we have a special guest on tonight, Mr. Matchstick. You may find us often on his channel, Mr. Matchstick's channel. The link is in the description. Please subscribe to him. But we are on there, we do talks about cartoon series or anime series. We also do Culture Fortress, which is more where we talk about what's good in popular culture, past or present, that really we don't feel has been tarnished. And that's sort of what we talk about for that stream. So you can always join us for that.
Yep.
But what you sipping on, Troy?
Cherry Coke. Just a cherry Coke.
What you sipping on, Mr. Matchstick?
Water.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, when I drink water, you give me a hard time.
I give you a hard time no matter what you say. I'm gonna give you a hard time when it's alcoholic, when it's non-alcoholic, and anywhere in between.
Arizona. I'm drinking an Arizona fruit punch fruit juice cocktail.
There you go.
Yay! I actually got a I got a kids meal at a certain chain, and I got an apple juice, and I was going to jokingly drink that on the chain, but I decided not to. Okay, let's say hi to the chat, shall we?
Hello,
let's see
chat.
here. Big Al presents. Have a great show,
Yep.
you geezers.
Looks like you're
yes,
first.
Mr. Matchstick, king of the geezers, right here. I'm just, okay.
Yeah.
Probably half my age at the probably less.
Probably.
Auditor Dread, welcome. Good evening. I just saw Jurassic World Dominion film. I like it, but it is very dumb while fun. Think Indiana Jones or Uncharted with dinos. See, the thing with the Jurassic World series is they get attacked, but I've liked them. I don't know if I'm going to like this third one. I'm not exactly excited about it, but maybe I will because I kind of feel it's kind of just a dumb monster movie. But I don't. Maybe people want more out of a Jurassic Park movie than that. But as long as it's got dinosaurs eating people, I might be all right with it. But anyway, what else do we got here? Netters Network, always welcome. Hi, sweetie. Thank you for that. Auditor Dread, welcome. Hola, everybody. I think I saw Zootopia. Welcome. Mm-hmm. Daniel Heron, welcome. You can catch us on I'll be on his channel this week. I believe we're covering RoboCop this week, which is my favorite superhero movie. And deleted scenes, hola chat. Rosefire, hurrah! Good evening, everyone. Yeah. Thank you, Rosefire. She's always very good about commenting on my videos. I'm not as good about responding in a timely manner, but I will get to your latest comment.
You know, it's weird. I've noticed this. If you don't specifically go to your channel, go to the videos and go to the comments, you can select it and say which ones haven't I responded to or whatever. But I don't seem to get any notifications from YouTube that I have a comment on one of my videos. It's crazy.
YouTube's an asshole like that.
Yep.
All right. But anyway, we're just gonna jump. RoboCop is not a superhero. It's not a superhero. Okay. Well, we'll save that for Wednesday.
He's right.
RoboCop. Where did that come up? That seems
where did what come up?
RoboCop.
I'm not getting into it here. We have too much to talk about tonight.
Okay, I was going to say
we're gonna be watching RoboCop on Birdman's channel this Wednesday.
Gotcha.
I consider him a superhero. He's got superpowers. He's part cop, part robot. Okay,
and kind of like $6 Million Man.
He's got super villains. You all right there, Ron Pipe? Match.
Both of you guys coughing like crazy.
I'm good.
All right. Let's go to the first news story tonight because we have Matchstick on for a rant. Oh, go ahead.
If we're talking about some good guys in a really crapsack world, let's talk about us talking about Diablo.
Okay.
Yes. Here we have this ties into a rant we're going to be doing, but I figured Diablo Immortal. Any Diablo fans here? I'm a big Diablo fan. Love Diablo 3. Still play it now.
Played the first one.
I heard it's good.
Yeah, Diablo 3 is pretty good. They had a Diablo 3, Diablo 2 bundle on sale for the Nintendo Switch, and I got it for $40. You got Diablo 3 for the Switch and also the Diablo 2 remastered. And one of those games was good. I'm not a big fan of what they did with the Diablo 2 remastered. That would be a rant in its own. But we're going to talk about Diablo Immortal. A little background on this game, Troy. all the Diablo fans were very excited. They were announcing Diablo Immortal, and then the guys at the game conference said for cell phones. And
Is this an off-season April Fool's joke?
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Like one guy says, "Is this a joke?" They were angry. They're saying, "Cell phones? You mean PC?" That's where you put your Diablo game on first. They were like, "You guys don't have phones," and that just didn't meet with a good response. I think it is eventually going to be coming to maybe PCs and consoles. I think they are going to bring it out. But let me read a bit from this article. Diablo Immortal disillusioned followers when it was introduced. It was a cellular game, not a real PC or console successor. It's managed to ruffle much more feathers with a predatory microtransaction mannequin, meaning you should pay about $110,000 to full improve your character Unreal. YouTube channel Bellier News broke down the figures in a video noticed by Games Radar. As effectively as Common Gear and a stage primarily based on XP, Diablo Immortal, you may have to get a hold of legendary gems if you wish to max out your character. The challenge comes from the actual fact free-to-play gamers haven't any means of incomes to get these gems. That means they're utterly locked out of any kind of end-game development. I mean, I guess you have to buy these gems. This article was a little complicated.
Sounds like microtransactions to me.
It's microtransactions. To be fair, when Diablo 3 had come out on PC originally, it had some sort of microtransactions in it. I think they called it the auction house, where to get the really nice items, you had to go to the auction house. I think you had to spend real money. I know that got met with extreme derision, and I know they eventually fixed the game and got rid of the auction house. By the time it came to consoles, the auction house was a distant memory. So I don't even think about it. But it appears that they're trying to do this again. So what do you think? $100,000 to improve your character?
Oh,
what do you think?
Come on, Troy. You don't want to spend real money. You don't want to spend $100 when you can make a full that. Well, you see. You can buy a full. Why buy a full armor set of armor in real life when you buy a shitty fucking armor set in a fucking mobile game?
Yeah, you could probably get a real set for cheaper. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But Rosefire says the rate Disney is falling these days. Maybe one day you can buy the company for $100,000. Well, we'll see about that. But hello Morgan, Brett, hello Matanui. Anyway, so we have Matchstick on because he wanted to do a rant because recently he played a video, the new computer video game, blah blah, called
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Do you know what Elden Ring is, Troy?
I know it's a fantasy game. I know there's been a lot of dust up about it recently, but no, I've never played it or nothing.
It's one of the biggest game of the year so far. People are obsessed with it. I have a sibling that plays it constantly and talks to me about it constantly. I do not have powerful enough hardware myself, but it was made in Japan. It's made by Bandai Namco of Japan, also by the development studio called From Software, I believe, that made.
All right, Troy.
Mm-hmm,
have you ever heard of Dark Souls?
Yes, actually.
Same studio, same type of game.
Is it the same game engine?
Same type of game. Well, not. I don't think it's the exact engine. But it is the same type of game.
Well, it's more expansive, I think, than even Dark Souls was.
Yeah,
but
Elden Ring is fucking huge.
Now, to pepper up the English script for it, they actually got George R. R. Martin to help with the dialogue and other things instead of people like at Square Enix that get anybody to do their translations. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't actually know about the exact extent that that lazy fucking bastard.
Hey, you know what?
Excuse me. Fat lazy bastard.
Hey, listen.
I like him.
I went on a rant a few weeks back about the awful localization that Project Triangle Strategy happened, and at least if George R. R. Martin's attached to it, even if there was a ghostwriter, they're trying to sound like George R. R. Martin. Okay, it's like,
yeah. But I actually don't know the extent. I've heard that he sort of like did like the just like kind of the outline, and then Miyazaki did everything else.
Right.
But gotcha. I'm not sure about his exact extent of his. But he's a good writer, so I'm when he wants to write.
Yeah, he's been struggling with that Game of Thrones novel, finishing up that series. But
Yes, he doesn't. Well, he doesn't. He doesn't have just this next novel. He has a novel after that.
yeah, so well, maybe we'll see them someday. But anyway, the point is though, Elden Ring is the biggest obsession that all the young folks are playing instead of just why can't you just play the old Nintendo Legend of Zelda and be happy with that? But I'm just kidding. Actually, Elden Ring. What makes it so special, and how much? Why do you spend so much time playing it? That's my question for you.
I'd say it's the gameplay loop.
Okay.
At basic. It's a very punishing game, as it's the old Dark Souls style, like Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. And this is my first From Software game.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, yeah, and I am. That gameplay look is fucking is excuse my language, but it gotta get PaPa out of here. It is addictive. Just the finding out the exact way to kill an opponent, the euphoria from killing a boss, the expansion, the lack of any crappy monetization. This is really fun. The music's great. The art direction is phenomenal. The voice acting is good. Is really they're really fun, but they're fun and over the top.
Now, to explain this better here to you, Troy, this is a fantasy world this takes place in. It's a very dark fantasy world, correct, Matchstick?
Yeah.
Is that right? And it doesn't look like maybe a typical Japanese RPG. Does it have more of a Western style RPG look to it?
It's because it's because Miyazaki wanted to make a love letter to Berserk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
And that's what all like Demon Souls and Dark Souls style is based on.
All right, but I don't know. My brother talks about the many different characters you run into the game. Like one of them is called the Loathsome Dung Eater.
I haven't gotten to him yet, but they have this guy in the intro, and the voice acting is like the Loathsome Dung Eater.
Yeah,
it just says it in such visual.
And I assume, I think he was telling me that he's a cursed child, and like they're cursed people in this world that I guess the religious order wants to get rid of. Yeah, the religious order wants to get rid of, but you can befriend them and aid them. I don't know. I'm not even going to try to pretend like I'm an expert.
It's the storytelling style of this game is very it's very soft. It's not you kind of have to go throughout the world and collect the info of what's happening for yourself. And I'm a bit too lazy for that. I'm just going to go watch a lore video online.
Yeah, and
like
I was going to say that's kind of where I learned so much about Dark Souls. I've seen a lot of lore videos, playthroughs of that, parodies of it. So that's the extent of my knowledge of it. So at least I have a frame of reference.
Yeah, and is it a very dark, depressing world? I mean, I've been watching some scenes of VTubers playing this game, and I remember there's one scene where you run into this young maiden woman who's blind, and she's saying, "Oh, my father's trying to fend off this guy who's attacked. Can you help him?"
Oh yeah,
and then you go and help him, and then you go to find the girl that ran out the castle, and then I guess she's dead. And it's like you go back to talk to her, and he's like, "Hey,"
and then and you see the father just sitting over the body. He's like, "Oh, this is my fault," and you're like, "Oh,
it's very depressing." And I think it says something about our modern world that gamers are really attracted to these depressing fantasy worlds where. I think even in Dark Souls, by the end of the last game, isn't the world just falling apart at that point? Isn't it a dying world?
I haven't played Dark Souls.
Okay, that was the impression I got. Yeah.
When you said it was depressing, and you said something about a blind girl asking you to help her father, I thought you were going to say something like, "Yeah, you have the option to say, well, I've already saved him, but he's mute. She's blind. How's she going to know?" That would be depressing.
Yeah, that would be. I see. Like someone cuts his tongue out during the battle, and it's okay. Yeah, that would be. Well, you'll have to.
It's a no wonder George R. Martin is so involved. You know, I hear they're getting Brandon Sanderson, who remember the Cosmere? I talked about that on Culture Fortress.
Yeah.
He's the guy who made that.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
the next game, but Dark Souls. From what I hear, it had massive levels of hype, and that from also I hear that it just from it outshone that hype as well, which is rare. Because like, remember Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
Yes.
and that was a shit show.
Yes. From what I hear, yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Everyone was upset about that.
I
For those,
was
yeah.
I
Go
was kind of disappointed, but I was on the PC side, not the last gen console side, so I got it. I
Well-
ran into a few bugs, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, I heard it worked on PC, but I mean, I'll be blunt. They made an Xbox console modeled after the Cyberpunk game, and I was wondering, can that Xbox console you modeled actually play the game? It's modeled after. I mean, that comes with it. That's
Yeah,
a problem.
It was a next gen game released on a last gen console.
Well, then you don't release it on the last gen console.
Yeah,
You just save it
but-
for next gen. I
But
mean,
you
that's
see,
what.
Agent Boomers, you have investors holding a gun to your head, and fans also holding a gun to your head. What do you do?
Look, I'm as an old school
What?
gamer that's bought consoles over the years. I know that if at some point you got to upgrade, you don't play the new stuff.
Yeah, I
That's
also
just
agree.
how it
They
is.
should have they should have pulled it, and they should have, since they weren't going to be release it in a finished state. They could have released it as an open beta.
Yeah. From Software is obsessed with apocalyptic fantasy worlds. It's kind of their thing. I'll tell you though, from what I've heard, Troy, this game is so huge. They think it's so revolutionary. It's going to shape the way games are made in the future. That's how much of a big deal it is.
I'm like, I'm not even finished with the first era, and I'm like, yeah, this is a game of year.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I played that could be similar to this game would be Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Has it been compared to that at all, or are they just completely different things?
I've heard it been described like Dark Souls combined with Skyrim. Or like,
Okay, yeah, so maybe it's like that. I'm sure Elden Ring pushes even what they did in Breath of the Wild, but I was impressed with Breath of the Wild in that it's a Zelda game where it starts out and basically, you find out 100 years ago the heroes lost and and the Calamity Ganon destroyed Hyrule. Now you're in the ruins, and I'm like, that's kind of dark. And I imagine, of course, it's Nintendo, so it's not going to be quite as dark as something like Elden Ring, but I take it though it's very open ended. You can do it. You can play the game however you want, right? That's a big draw of it.
Yeah, it's you can skip a whole lot of bosses. You can go through. It's kind of the character creation is kind of like D&D,
Okay.
where you can you have a bunch of different classes, but you can also start as a thing called a Resh, and you can level up the way you want with that.
All right. Are there different races in this game, or is it pretty much all human fantasy world?
It's all it's.
Is it more akin to something like game?
It's kind of in the middle.
Okay.
They're like different race. There's different races, but they're all like human adjacent. So it's like humans with like albino humans or red-skinned humans or.
Okay, so it's like different, and maybe different races come with different attributes, but they're still human. Is that basically it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so maybe it's more something akin to like
it's
Game
more
of Thrones
aesthetic.
or.
I think it's more aesthetic.
Gotcha. But I don't know. I mean, the art design. What's funny is, again, like I've said to Troy before, there's kind of been a war on having sexy video games, years back, sexy game areas. So I look at Elden Ring and I'm like, just everything's just drab and depressing. So that's where we are. But it's
so colorful. It's
still an art style, though.
Game.
Okay, it's still an art style though, so that's good. What I thought was funny though, I was watching one VTuber, and you go up and you talk to NPCs in games like non-player characters, and they, they'll talk to you and give you information. And all I noticed, this one VTuber, she, those Japanese women that have the anime caricatures over them. She was playing Skyrim, and she goes up to one guy and he says,
"Wait, which VTuber?
I don't remember, but this was the scenario. It's like the guy goes, "You are maidenless."
Oh gosh!
And he says you are maiden because I guess you need a maiden as the warrior in the game. You need to find a maiden or something.
You have to get a maiden to level up.
And like the VTuber was saying, said, "Okay, I ain't got no hose or something." It's like that's not a maiden is not a hoe. That's not what that means.
Yeah,
Anyway, she keeps saying you are maidenless and you'll dare to live in obscurity, and she gets angry at the NPC and she hits him with a sword and hits him a few times.
His ass.
And then she hits him a few times, and then the NPC comes to life, starts attacking her, and she starts screaming. And then she goes to a reset point after she dies or something, and she goes up to him, and he still wants to attack her. It might have been Sakura, yeah, I don't know. He still wants to attack her, and she was screaming, and it's like you can kill, and she was actually able to kill him. But the point is that you can play the game any way you want. If you want to kill this NPC that might give you valuable stuff later on, you can, and maybe you'll get something out of it early, but it's very open-ended in how you play, and I know it's shaming all the other game developers. You had a rant about the gaming industry in general, right?
Yeah.
About
I heard that that some a bunch of devs are really fucking salty on Twitter about this game.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, which is but the meme, the no maidens meme, it was like this. There was this meme with the guy from Megamind called "Just Looking at a Screen," and the title was "No Bitches." So,
that's
so it fed into it because Elden Ring was like the Megamind guy, but he was they recolored him and to look like an Elden Ring character, and it says "No Maidens," and that just fed in. And then there's also another meme called "Touch Grass." And in this game, you have to touch a thing called Grace to save. So it also fell into you got to touch Grace.
Funny.
But this game was on the second month. It sold by the end of the first month. It sold over 12 million units.
Yeah, it is a phenomenon.
By the start of April, it shipped over 13 million units. It has beaten a Call of Duty game, which is very big.
Yeah, I mean, Japan's back as far as game development goes. They are. I mean, not that they ever really left, but this game is huge around the world. Is there anything else you're looking? I mean, I know you're a big Resident Evil fan, and maybe you're looking forward to Part 4. But do you think anything any other company is doing compares to what they did with Elden Ring?
Elden Ring. That's all.
That's all on your mind lately. Gotcha.
Yeah. Right now, I have a bunch of games that I want to get to, but it's gonna have to take a back seat because I got to play Elden Ring.
Don't say why you can't just play Quake.
The all-time peak was on Steam. Was it's almost 1 million, which is big.
Yeah, 1 million Steam users bought it?
Almost 1 million.
Wow, that's a lot. I think that's what my brother's playing it on. I'm trying to think, because you can get it on last-gen consoles, but that's the problem. I know if I stick this thing in my Xbox One S, it's going to look like crap.
From what I hear, there have been some there are some problems with Elden Ring. Supposedly it has a shitty multiplayer, but I don't play the multiplayer, so I wouldn't know. It's not completely finished in that way that imagine you get 6 hand painted Mona Lisas. You're not going to get everything completely down right.
Well, no, but
Elden Ring.
But if you're playing it for the single player mode, I guess this is Aces.
That's another thing. This is a single player action RPG that is making this much money and is selling this much units and generating this much hype.
Yeah, I hear people. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
The popular thing right now is to make these live service shitty fucking multiplayer games.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. You can't fucking escape them. And this thing comes in and just kicks the crap out of all of them.
Yeah.
You were going to say?
I'm just going to say, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to pick on all Western game development right now, but they seem to be slipping in a lot of ways. I see Ubisoft at one point right next to Nintendo were my favorite developer because back in the 6th generation, and they've fallen from grace big time. and I don't know, like even like they had the big Bethesda show today. I don't know if you caught any of that, the Microsoft Bethesda show, but I wasn't exactly wowed by anything there either. I mean, but
Starfield just kind of looked like a Fallout in space.
it's Todd Howard and
Todd Howard,
No.
Howard, he's going to tell the truth, but it's all going to be very technical.
Wasn't Fallout 76 a disaster?
Oh, it was a atrocity.
They charged $60 for that, and then
it's like the video game equivalent of a war crime.
Yeah, the thing is, and like I said, Witcher 3, big deal. So everybody expected Cyberpunk to be...
Yeah, but then they released Cyberpunk in a half-finished state for a console generation that it shouldn't be on.
Everyone was excited. They got Keanu Reeves to be in it and everything, and it's just... So... Elden Ring is a great game, but it's not for everybody. I got burnt out after fighting the fire giant. Yeah, these games are very hard, and this is what, Troy, when the game journalists complain about hard games, it's because of stuff like Elden Ring. They don't like From Software.
But game
angry about
journalists are
Sekiro.
pussies. The one thing I like about the gaming community is that they hate games journalists a lot.
Yeah.
At least the one from the major companies. A lot of the smaller guys people tend to like, but
cool.
They fucking hate games journalists.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I would own Elden Ring myself. I'm waiting for that Switch version to come out. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah, but with Elden Ring, I'm just it made me. It was so good that I am giving less of an excuse to other AAA devs.
Yeah,
like with CD Projekt Red, you people had the capacity to make this, but you got your head and your short-sighted head up your fucking butt.
I remember though that the developers at CD Projekt Red were fuming at the management. There was a big dust up over there after the disaster that was Cyberpunk. So yeah. And
but EA, Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, all you guys, you could make games like this, but you choose to make games like Diablo Immortal.
Yeah,
and I'm done with it. I'm sick of your shit.
I hear even Diablo 4. I don't know if this is true. Which is the true sequel coming out, Diablo 4. People are thinking that's going to have microtransactions in it too and all this stuff. And it's all the nickel and diming. Just give me, if I'm paying $60, $70 for the game, I want something that's a complete package, not something I got to feed more money into.
They want to half-ass their game and make it like they want to make a half measure of a game and then have 10 people pay $100 for it. Yeah, when they should be working hard on the game and trying to get 100 people pay $10 for the game.
Yeah. Well, even if it's a cost thing, I mean, if games have to go up in price, they have to go up in price. I just want to make sure I'm getting what I'm paying for.
Elden Ring is $60. It's not those $80 games.
No.
It's $60.
And I don't know, do they have plans for any kind of DLC for it later on, or is it just a complete package?
I think so.
It is? I know in the case of Elden Ring, though, it would be, like, I'm not against DLC in all cases, as long as it's legitimate. Like, DLC, you're getting a full game, you're getting the full game when you buy it, and they give you, it's like how expansion packs used to work for old PC games. Yeah.
It should be something added onto, which is like, it's like, like some like small DLC, like you're getting a new skin or something. That's one thing. Making like a $20 giant expansion, you get a whole new area of the map, you get a bunch of new missions. That's one thing. But if you're trying to get me to pay $50 for the chance of a really shitty skin, then you can go fuck yourself.
Well, I know that Skyrim had the famous one that was the golden armor for the horse, right? And people love Skyrim, but they said that was ridiculous DLC. Of course, it didn't affect the game at all. It was just cosmetic. But I remember people were screaming about that back in the day. But
people are screaming about that now.
Now, let me just ask a question here. These games, you pay for the initial game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's not.
that's the
It's not like
problem.
it's not like it's a free to play game like Star Trek Online.
In the
and
case
they
of
make their
Diablo,
money off of ups and extras.
in the case of Diablo or Immortal, I don't know, but I know for most of these, yes, you pay for the full game, and that's the problem when they add in loads of microtransactions and DLC. You shouldn't be doing that to a game that you already paid like 60 bucks
Well,
for. It's
this has
ridiculous.
always been my thought on these things. If they are irrelevant, they're cosmetic,
It's
they're
fine.
whatever. It's like, look, if you want to pay for them, I wouldn't. But if you do, I'm certainly not going to begrudge you. It's your money to do with as you please. But if it is an integral part of the game, then what the hell did I pay for in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. So
In Elden Ring it's not completely finished. It has it's like the six paintings of the Mona Lisa. You're not going to get. It's not. It has some things that just fell through the cracks, but it is a complete game. You're going to get what you paid for, and you're going to get hundreds of hours off this. It has a very large replayability. I know people. I know. Well, I don't know. I have my brother knows a person who played the game 6 times over.
Huh.
And
Okay.
I hear that's not uncommon for like really big people like the style of game.
Cool.
And you can put hundreds of hours. This is very replayable, which is a good thing. It's not like Diablo Immortal where you're gonna play the game once and never again because that shit is shit.
I remember the gaming journals were angry because it came out at the same time Horizon for Forbidden West came out. And that's, of course, one of these Sony narrative games, and they were very angry that Elden Ring was beating it. And I'm sorry, it was a better game.
But you see, most gamers don't give a hoot what games journals say. The common joke is that a very common joke is that the easiest difficulty should be labeled games journalists.
Yeah. Well, like I told you, there was that famous story of the one gaming journalist that was playing Cuphead and couldn't get anywhere, but he was playing the tutorial and couldn't get through the tutorial. Anyway, especially when the tutorial tells you what buttons to press and what you're supposed to do. But anyway, so any final thoughts on Elden Ring? Just check it out.
Check it out. A lot of the one thing that people don't know is that a lot of your consoles and Steam pages have good. They a lot of them don't have demos, but they do have good refundability. So check into your refundability. Buy Elden Ring. Check it out for an hour or two, and then see how you like it.
See if it's your cup of tea.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
I guarantee you'll be playing a bit more than 2 hours on that game.
I've heard everybody likes it. It's difficult, but like I said, even back in the days of the old Nintendo, we would play difficult games. This
is a game that really requires patience and learning your opponent's moves.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So,
yeah,
like I said, I don't have Elden Ring, but I do have Sekiro, so I should probably get back to playing that at some point. Maybe that'll prep me for Elden Ring. Same developer.
Yeah,
so it's samurais instead of knights and stuff. But
yeah.
All right, but okay. So check out Elden Ring. Thank you, Mr. Matchstick, and you were going to stay with us for the rest of the stream, right? So
yeah,
we're going to get into good old days now, right, Troy?
Yeah.
And what is tonight's good old days?
Well, we've talked about Twin Peaks in the past. We've talked about David Lynch, and especially the revival of Twin Peaks. But I think what I really wanted to focus on a little bit more tonight is the music of Angelo Badalamenti. So if you are a Star Wars fan or any kind of a Spielberg or Lucas fan, you know that the music of John Williams is credited by George Lucas as it was him. He's the one that made Star Wars, not me, he said. And you could argue to what degree that's true, but I think it's absolutely unquestionably true that music sets the stage, and it really helps you feel like you're a part of the world. It creates the mood. And by all means, Angelo Badalamenti is definitely the composer of the music that takes you to Twin Peaks and so many other David Lynch worlds. And I mean, I guess there's no corollary. John Williams is purely orchestral. Only with the prequels did he start adding choral music to it and voices, but it was ensemble. Whereas with Angelo Badalamenti, there are a number of voices that work very well with his very smooth improvisational jazz style. But probably the most prolific, the one that did the most work with Angelo Badalamenti and is most closely associated with Twin Peaks, Julie Cruz. I mean, talk about a voice. You even if you're not a Twin Peaks fan, if you're of a certain age, you know her voice because for the longest time, the theme from Twin Peaks, Floating, was on the Billboard charts, and of course, it was an instrumental on the TV show, but it was Julie Cruz's voice with the floating lyrics that was played on the radio. And let me tell you, I mean, that is just some haunting stuff. There is music you remember. There's music that you sing along with, and there's music that makes you stop and listen and get a little bit of tingle right behind your ear. And that's what that voice was like. I think everybody knows I'm a huge Julie Cruz fan. I'm a huge Angelo Badalamenti fan, and I'm a huge David Lynch fan. So if you are as hardcore as I am, you know about something called Industrial Symphony Number 1, a very avant-garde stage production that was filmed. It came out on videotape back in the late 80s, early 90s. No, actually, I think it was a 1990 production, so it had to be the early 90s. I had it on VHS. Oh, I still do somewhere. But then it was released on DVD in the lime green box, a collection of various David Lynch films and projects and so forth. And it really is it's a lot of the music that appeared in Twin Peaks, that appeared on Julie Cruz's album with music by Angelo Badalamenti with songs like Rockin' Back Inside My Heart and so forth. And of course, Industrial Symphony Number 1, which only appears on that particular album. Some really, really amazing stuff. Now, I don't think I'm talking completely out here about things that nobody else knows about. Boomer, you've heard about Julie Cruz and the music I'm referring to, right? It's not all new to you.
I'm curious, did she do anything for the Lost Highway soundtrack?
Yes, she did. Yes, okay. She absolutely did.
Because that was a formidable. I used to listen to that one a lot when I was younger too, and I mean, I think she was in Mulholland Drive as well, correct?
At least some of her music did. Yeah, that voice. It's
definitely
that very melodic. Gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. Ethereal, haunting is probably the best word for it. Yeah. Questions in a World of Blue. That was a promotional only song that came out for The Voice of Love, the album. That was just incredible, But yeah.
If one was wanting an introduction to her work, what do you recommend they pick up? Or
what?
Out?
Probably for the general audience, I would just say go out there and find a copy of the Twin Peaks soundtrack. She's got a number of songs on there. The most obvious, one that people recognize, even if you don't know it. Even if my saying it, you don't hear it. As soon as you hear it, it's the first song on there. It's called Floating. You're like, oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
But then she, on the B side, I'm talking about the vinyl album, of course. Here, the B side is Into the Night, another beautiful, haunting one, where it's got this build up and then this, like, if it was a movie, you'd call it a jump scare in the music. It's really an experience. It's the only way I could describe it. You gotta check it out to even understand what I'm talking about.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to share about for
Did she contribute to the revival series as well?
Oh, there was a lot of people that were featured. Let me double check.
A lot of bands and musicians on that show. So I don't know if I missed her in the mix, or I was saying she wasn't involved at all. She must have been, but
let me see. I'm just checking the soundtrack here. So yeah, obviously there was. Oh yeah. Oh, The World Spins. Yes, The World Spins was featured in the revival. I'd actually forgotten that because I actually knew that tune well before. But yes, so she did have an appearance in the Roadhouse scenes in the revival. I've only seen it a couple times, so I don't remember all the details. But, yeah.
I really need to watch Twin Peaks front to back at some point soon. That has to be.
If you've already seen it through once, then you can go ahead and watch it in chronological order. Start with
Fire Walk with Me.
Fire Walk with Me. Then watch the first 2 seasons, and then of course the revival.
What's the other thing part of Fire Walk with Me that was like the missing scenes cobbled together into something?
Oh, you know what? If I don't think that was ever officially released. There's a fan edit of that out there.
I think something akin to it has been released. I know it's on the Criterion Blu-ray of it, and I think they even put it into some of the sets too.
It might be. If that's the case, then I probably do have it and didn't even realize. Remember,
you may have it. Yeah,
there was a lot of Blu-rays that I had bought just for collector's reasons and never got around to watching because I didn't have the ability to watch Blu-rays for the longest time. And so now I'm just catching up with a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I need to rewatch season 3. I often wondered with season 3 of Twin Peaks if you were meant to watch it like every episode one after the other and just completely binge it, because I know how Lynch is even about chapter stops on DVDs, and I wondered were the music interludes like get up and use the bathroom and come back and watch this 10-hour movie. I mean, I don't know. It's like
I would argue that there is no correct way to watch David Lynch. You can he obviously wants you to watch an episode or a film or whatever the case is straight through, but having done that, watching things out of order, watching individual scenes over again, ruminating on things that way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I have seen some people, especially with the return, talk about like watching things in reverse order, lining up, things like a Rorschach, the very end and the very beginning, kind of mirroring. I'm not sure I buy into that. That's almost like Dark Side of Oz type of stuff, linking up the Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon. But I don't know. I mean, I think that really is part of the charm of something of the kinds of works that David Lynch does. They don't lend themselves to easy interpretation. Anyone that tells you this is what it means, this is what it's all about, no, I don't think you're meant to. And again, when it comes to the music, when it comes to Angelo Badalamenti, when it comes to Julie Cruz, that's meant to be mood setting.
Gotcha.
I mean, you could dig into the lyrics if you want to. But that might be adding shades of meaning that may or may not be intentional. Doesn't matter. How does it make you feel? What is your mindset, as you're watching that episode or listening to that tune? I think is what really is the intent there.
Gotcha.
But there you go.
I want to respond to something Manu says. Why highlight that? Here, I'm going to share a little thing behind the scenes of when you're putting comments up. You find a good comment that's related to what you're talking about, and then somebody else places a comment, pushes that comment up, and you highlight the wrong one by accident.
Yeah.
that's why I did it. Nothing wrong with what you said. I just explained you why. I was doing deleted scenes as he needs to rewatch season 3. I did. We're going to segue though into another news story. This is sad news.
Yeah.
If you're done, yeah. She has unfortunately passed on. Julie Cruz, singer and frequent David Lynch collaborator, dies at age 65, and that seems rather young, actually, considering. But we'll get into that in a sec.
Yeah.
Let me just paste the other thing. Were you shocked to hear this news?
I was, only because I knew she had health problems, but I didn't know how bad it was, and it. God, tragic doesn't even cover it, to be honest with you. I mean, we've had a lot of people pass on suddenly and unexpectedly. I guess it wasn't very unexpected for her, though.
Yeah.
She had been suffering with systemic lupus for a long time,
Right.
and depression. And one could argue, a chicken and the egg kind of thing. Is it the depression that spirals you down, or is it the illness that causes the depression?
Right.
Or what is it? But yeah, it just seems that the pain and suffering she was going through was just too much for her to bear. So she decided that she didn't want to anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, there's really no other word I can think of but tragic.
Yeah. I'll read from the article. Julie Cruz, the singer whose ethereal music deepened the drama of David Lynch's work, has died at age 65. Her husband, Edward Grinnan, wrote on Facebook, "She left this realm on her own terms. No regrets. She is at peace. I played her B-52 song Roam during her transition. Now she will roam forever. Rest in peace, my love." Cruz's best known song was Falling.
Right.
It's instrumental, written by Angelo
Badalamenti.
Was used as the theme to Twin Peaks, Lynch's iconic TV show that debuted in 1990. Lynch wrote lyrics for Cruz's vocal version, which reached number 7 in the United Kingdom charts, was a hit across Europe, and topped the Australian singles charts. It was included on her debut album Floating into the Night, released in 1989. Born in Iowa in 1956, Cruz began her collaborations with Lynch in 1986 for his film Blue Velvet, which prominently features her Badalamenti collaboration Mysteries of Love. In 1990, she appeared as a character called the Dream Self of the heartbroken woman in Lynch's avant-garde theater production Industrial Symphony No. 1, alongside Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern. I wish I'd gotten a chance to see that.
It's a pretty trippy stage production.
That strikes me as fascinating. Yeah. Her songcraft has earned her a passionate cult following, drawn to Cruz's deceptively pristine and innocent delivery. Technically, this music is so delicate that it's a challenge just to sing it, she said in 1990, but at the same time, it allows me to be more dramatic, more psychotic than if I were just singing "Oh Baby, Baby" into the microphone. Lynch should have had her do that for a song.
He would have been up to the challenge. I think that's absolutely true.
Do like a 50s pop song, just have her sing. Okay, anyway, certain things you can't overact while you're singing. This I can overact and get away with it. I can stylize it. She appeared as a character in Twin Peaks, singing in the town's bar, and in the movie spinoff Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me. She also featured in Twin Peaks The Return, Lynch's 3rd season of the show in 2017.
Yeah. You joke about the 50s music, but that song "Rockin' Back Inside My Heart" definitely has that 1950s kind of girl band kind of feel to it.
Cool.
Although in a very kind of smooth jazz kind of way.
And it ends with, in 2018, she said of their working relationship, "It's like I'm his little sister. You don't like your older brother telling you what to do. David's foppish. He can have these tantrums sometimes, but have you ever seen his temper? Anybody can look funny when they get mad, but I love them.
Yeah.
Well, that's some good last words. She'll be missed.
I'm glad you mentioned the thing about the B-52s. She toured with the B-52s in the 90s. She filled in for Cindy Wilson, and a lot of people don't realize that.
What's the name of the song she did?
Rome. That's the big song that most people. She didn't sing lead vocals on it, but yeah, that's the when you mention the B-52s, Rome is the one that most people think about.
Rome. Give me 1 second.
Rome, if
I
you
have it.
want
I
to.
oh well, of course I've heard that. Yes,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
I have a B-52s album collection, so okay, that's interesting to know. All right.
Yeah.
My old thesis director, she was a big B-52 fan. All right. But she'll be missed, and her work will live on past her death. So check her out.
Absolutely.
Never heard of her, but God rest her soul.
Yes,
Amen.
I gotta tell you, Twin Peaks very popular in Japan. Did you know that?
Yes. And did you know that they had some very interesting iced coffee commercials that were Twin Peaks based?
Oh, that's
Look
funny.
them up on YouTube. They are every bit as strange as if David Lynch himself had actually created them.
Yep. Okay, Disney.
I don't know what to make of this. This is going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Who's Peter Rice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
You'll find out in just a second. A lot of people are
I'm
saying
gonna
that
read.
too.
Just pay attention. Here we go. Disney has confirmed the exit of Peter Rice and the ascension of Dana Walden. Release, which barely mentions Rice or any reason he got sacked, is below the story video. Okay, so that's just a note. Disney has fired Peter Rice from his post as chairman of the Disney General Entertainment Content. The studio has named Dana Walden chairman of entertainment, Walt Disney Television, to succeed him. Both of them came over when Disney swallowed Fox and are considered among the most accomplished creative execs in town. The move marks a high-profile restructuring shift made by Disney CEO Bob Chapek as he continues to put his mark on the studio post Bob Iger. It is also a thunderbolt move that has left those around Hollywood speechless, partly for the clumsy chain of events, but also in upsetting an executive structure that has worked so well, as Rice and Walden have worked well together for so long. In Rice, Disney had an exec who not only had strong talent ties, but understands the areas of sports, news, and finance. Executives like that don't grow on trees, several prominent industry players said. You can never have enough good creative executives, and they had as good a lineup of creative executives working in one place as you could find, said one. Why would you get rid of a great one and shackle the other, a gifted creative executive, with unfamiliar areas like news and corporate tasks, giving them less time to spend on creative? Anger over the development toward Chapek is running high today. Another source noting the hastily prepared vote of confidence by the Disney board toward Chapek this morning after the Rice firing, even though the same board has not given him a new contract added. If they had full confidence, they would never leave their CEO with less than a year on his contract. The vote of confidence is laughable. It seems like the thing to do before they send you out to the firing squad. Okay. Speaking of the firing squad, Rice was not given the courtesy of a cigarette and a blindfold. He was completely blindsided yesterday by the move after receiving nothing but praise by his boss for the past 2 years, sources tell Deadline. So were many of his colleagues at Disney who did not see this coming. Rice did not start telling his team until this morning, we hear, but he did raise eyebrows by canceling last minute. Hold on. Okay. Last minute an appearance at the Old Man premiere last night, since the talent-friendly executive has been a fixture at every major event for the division in his portfolio. Both Rice and Walden are very well-regarded executives, and Rice had to spend the past few months fending off wide rumors that Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav would tap him to leave Disney to run the entertainment business for him. When it was clear Zaslav wanted execs to report directly to him, Rice pulled himself out of the running for that and declined other high-profile opportunities outside of Disney. He signed a 3-year deal around 6 months ago and received one of the biggest bonus checks given anyone at a studio below the CEO level. There were no rumors of discord between Rice, Walden, and FX head John Landgraf, making this a shocking mystery. So here we have the big mystery as to why this gentleman was fired. One thing I do find interesting is that both him and Walden came over from 20th Century Fox. So they worked over there first before they got higher positions up in Disney. I guess they were considered good execs at Fox, and that's why Disney wanted to use them more to their advantage. I don't know who they replaced at Disney, or if the positions even existed yet. I don't know. What do you have to say, Troy?
So I just wanted to go back and make it very clear for those that had never heard of Rice before. If you think about Kathleen Kennedy in charge of Lucasfilm, if you think about Kevin Feige in charge of Marvel, basically Rice is the one who's in charge of all the rest of the Disney stuff, and
Okay.
he isn't as well known, or he hasn't been as well known as Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige.
Less of a public figure.
Exactly. He hasn't had that much of a public profile, but he has been at that level,
He probably would have been just as unpopular if he was a public level.
Well, yes, absolutely. So I think it's a very weird thing. I'm hearing the Pixie Dusters saying, well, see, this is a perfect example of, things changing. And I'm like, well, why, given the comparison that I just made, why would you bypass Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy, who are more public, to go for this person that nobody knows and take him out? The argument being, well, he's the one who brought in all the people that you saw on that Zoom call and that orchestrated the walkout and that are pushing this entirely not so secret gay agenda and so on and so forth. Well, okay, fine, but I don't know. I see it as a token act. See, I really am doing something. See, I'm really doing something. And until something actually changes, it means nothing. You're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
Why they didn't give a reason as to why they let him go. So this is the big mystery. I've heard other rumors that maybe Chapek was worried that Rice was being considered as a replacement for him, and he saw him as a rival.
That would be a pretty Machiavellian move. This is the person that is most likely to take my place. Get rid of him, and they can't get rid of me because who are they going to move into my place? Now, the other thing is, and this is entirely speculation because I've been unable to confirm any of this, but apparently this Dana Walden, who's taking over that spot, I hear she's no better than he is. So why,
as far as the woke stuff goes,
why this is considered to be a good thing, I have no idea. Unless it's just she's the de facto next person in line and she might be going too. I don't know.
This she was known for this quote. This is from, I think, The Guardian. Dana Walden, chairman of entertainment for Walt Disney Television, recently said during a panel discussion that ABC passed on some incredibly well-written scripts because they did not meet its new diversity standards.
That's stupid.
Well, and here's the thing. A statement like that can go either way. That could be she's disappointed that people would feel that way because diversity is important, or she could be saying, good riddance. This is exactly what we need to do. I don't know, but at this point, I'm of the mind that Disney has not done anything to garner any good faith from me. No benefit of the doubt is left, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm very suspicious about that whole diversity statements. I mean, theoretically, in at least a lot of network television, you could cast anyone in a part, male or female of any race, right? So I don't think that's what it could have been, unless she's talking about some other kind of representation.
It's this very Marxist kind of mentality that comes off as being, keep in mind what Marxism used to be was, well, the underclass is receiving so much injustice and being taken advantage of. So we need to make things better for the working class, right? Now, that's one of those statements that the majority of people, even people that aren't, in that feeling that burden, would say, yeah, that sounds pretty fair. But the reality is, behind the scenes, what they're really doing is putting a crowbar into a chink in the wall and trying to break it open, trying to create a division.
Oh, no. And I also know what it is. It's not who was going to be in the shows. It was who wrote the scripts.
Exactly.
Who wrote the scripts as opposed to.
And what does that come down to? When you talk about racial, equality, and you talk about, in quotes, equity, and you talk about, diversity, you make it sound like, well, there's, demographics that are underrepresented because of some sort of injustice. That's wrong. Everyone goes, yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. But then when you suddenly make it about tokenism and, check boxes, well, we need a certain number of women, we need a certain number of people of color, we need a certain number of this, a certain number of that. Well, that begins to come off less about equality and more about equity. Learn the difference. There is a huge difference between equality and equity.
Yeah. And this is just from the other article. I'm just going to pull a quick quote. This was, many on Wall Street appeared to be in processing mode. Did not see this coming, tweeted Rich Greenfield of Lightshed Partners. Remind us why Disney spent all that money on Fox. I think inferment is, I think they said, I thought part of the reason they were spending money on Fox was to get the talent over at that studio into Disney, and then they're just getting rid of the talent. Not that I'm necessarily a big fan of this Rice, but I guess from their point of view, he was a big deal executive.
Yeah, Rosefire makes an excellent point. SJWs want their fictional worlds and reality to be the exact same thing. Their envisioned utopia. They don't understand that's not how reality works. That's exactly right. And I would argue that it starts with the whole concept of socialism. They talk about socialism and the socialistic utopia, and that's great in fiction. It doesn't work in reality. Well, real socialism has never been tried. Yeah, well, real levitation has never been tried either, because you can't do it. It doesn't work in reality.
Yeah.
There aren't any real people that can fly and shoot laser beams out of their eyes too. That's why that's never been tried. It's just the way of the world. You may think that in your family or in your church group or in your small little commune, socialism works great and everyone shares everything and nobody owns anything. That works great with a bunch of close people that care about each other and love each other, maybe with parents loving their children more than themselves, right? That's where socialism works. With a whole bunch of strangers in a larger society, it don't work that way. That's when tribalism comes into it. That's when millions of years of friggin' evolution come into it. Nope, me for mine and my own, and screw all the rest of you. That's reality,
Well, reality can be a bitter pill to swallow for some people, right?
Clearly.
Like I said, in that one South Park routine, that was the villain with the top hat and the twirly mustache. He says he's trying to break into the safe space because his name is Reality. That's the joke. Because anyway.
Take care, Horizon Talker. Hope you catch up with us later. And
night, man.
Take it
good
easy.
Night. Check out Horizon Talk. Horizon Talker's channel. He does vlogs on his writing. So
check out my well, I was gonna say that I plan on having a lot of YouTubers that do a lot of
creative stuff.
Yeah, and feature them in interviews and whatnot. And I haven't, and he might be hearing this tomorrow now. Horizon Talker, I want to get you on my show so that we could do an elevator pitch for you and talk a little bit about what you do and get people subscribed to your channel.
Yeah. A lot of good creative minds in the community, so we do want to highlight them when we can.
Yep.
Definitely.
Got a little bit off topic there, but yeah, I everybody is talking about this as though it's some big Chapek victory, and I'm saying, yeah, it's a little too late. This should have happened 2 years ago.
We don't know why he got rid of this guy, and I'm sorry. He had an opportunity to stay out of something, and he didn't. I mean, this is a family-orientated company. At the very least, stay neutral, even if you don't want to take a side.
Exactly.
They went the opposite side. They, instead of examining what the issue actually was, and I'm not going to get into that. We've talked about it already, but it's Disney left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths over their recent behavior, and I'm really wanting to see how Lightyear is going to do at the box office, because that's going to be a big test.
Yep.
Do people care enough to? Because Pixar has not been doing great either. I think Marvel and Star Wars can still weather things for a little while longer, but I'm wondering about the traditional Disney stuff, just the stuff that that basically the stuff that has the big branding. This is Disney. How that's going to be doing going forward.
True.
So we'll see. But let me see. There's still too much bad content out there between Star Wars and Marvel. I don't see anything good coming out, and everyone is tuning out Rings of Power 2. Yes, but tune in to Tokyo Vice, which got renewed. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Oh, nice.
Exactly.
Yes, it did. It got renewed, Matchstick. Yeah, I did that on Matchstick channel. Granted, it's not for everybody. It's a show about the seedy underbelly crime world of Japan in the 90s, but it's an HBO Max show. HBO Max has some good stuff. It's not.
I pointed that out to my dad. Seemed like he liked it.
Yeah, I don't know if he would or not, but I liked it. If you like crime series, but getting back to Star Wars, though, there is a documentary about to air, and this is first ever on-camera interview with George Lucas's ex-wife, Marcia.
From what I hear, it was her and some other people saved Star Wars in the editing room.
I've said that many times myself. You're absolutely right.
Star Wars was saved in the edit. I've heard that. Vice TV will premiere the Nacelle Company's News Icons on Earth series July 12th with the first installment of a 6-hour deep dive into the Star Wars universe. In Icons on Earth, Star Wars Marcia Lucas, Oscar-winning film editor and ex-wife of George Lucas, sits down for her first ever on-camera interview and provides unique insight into the rise of Lucasfilm, including her 14-year marriage to an eventual divorce from George Lucas, the editing of the original Star Wars trilogy, the origin of the idea that Darth Vader would be Luke's father, and if there were really originally plans for 9 movies. I've heard rumors about what the second trilogy was supposed to be about, but that's neither here nor there. I'm kind of curious, though. Is this going to be a 6-part series?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I was just excited when I heard that she was finally going to be talking about these things. I tend to look at these things from a film historian point of view, and her input is incredibly invaluable. And I feel kind of way past due.
Icons on Earth Star Wars will also include exclusive interviews with Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, Paul Hirsch, Phil Tippett, Rick Baker, Ken Ralston, John Dykstra, Howard Kazanjian, Julian Glover, Ian McDermott, Gus Lopez, Tom Spinella, and many more. Icons on Earth Star Wars is narrated by Michelle Pennington, who portrayed Off Tien Jared in Return of the Jedi. Okay.
Oh, Moff Jared. Right.
I have no idea.
It's okay.
Why can't they just call an alien on Star Wars Bob?
Bob. Well, little known fact: the big giant space slug that swallowed the Millennium Falcon's name was Bob.
There you go.
I'm making that up. I don't know.
Hey, you want to learn a little known fact?
Yes. What?
The main character's name is Luke, a very common name.
That's true. That's true. It's biblical.
It's interesting. Luke is common. I made a big deal about Game of Thrones, how it was always Ned Stark was the patriarch of the
Yeah,
Stark family. Ned is a common name, you know.
But his name is like Eddard, and then it's shortened
yeah.
to Ned. And then there's like
Yeah.
Robert. I kind of like it. There's a kind of interesting little tangent, but I kind of like it when fantasy or sci-fi writers just take a name and just alter it a little bit from like Edward to Eddard.
Instead of Jeffrey, it's Joffrey. Okay,
Right.
instead of different things over there. Yeah, it's
a neat little.
What
would you call it? Writing trick, I guess.
Writing trick. Well, it shows how this fantasy world is familiar but also different. Another thing they had in Game of Thrones was they had this is your name day, not your birthday.
Right.
They would celebrate name days, I guess, when your parents gave you your name, as opposed to it being when you were born, which I thought was interesting. And of course, if you look at different cultures around the world, getting a name is very important to a child. Like I believe in the Inuit tribes, if the child wasn't named and died, that would be very bad. Like the child might come back from the dead or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And also the I know that is it Chinese culture that starts your age at 1 because they take into account the time you spent in the womb and stuff like that. I mean, just
interesting
crazy stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, talk about naming. I mean, you look mostly at religions, right? You look at baptism, christenings and so forth.
Yep.
You look at bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and so forth. And actually, no, that would be more of a coming of age ritual. I think a bris is probably a better example. They cut off a little piece of your thing and give you a name.
Yeah. What was it? That was a thing on Seinfeld. I think they were going to a bris, and I think the rabbi was having a meltdown because someone knocked the glass over, and it was this big thing. It was just But let's see here, though. What was Rosefire saying? She's worked through Speed Racer cartoons. She has a weakness for dark-haired, blue-eyed hair heroes. Well, I guess that would be what's his name from Dune, right?
Paul.
Oh yeah,
Paul Atreides. Yeah.
Paul Atreides. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead. Any other thing else to say? You gonna watch this documentary series when it comes on?
Yeah, I mean, probably eventually. I'm not gonna make it a huge, priority, but I will definitely want to get around to that.
I've watched other. I think maybe was there like a bug? I don't know if it was on Star Wars or if there was like a biography about George Lucas. I watched somewhere, and it was funny because they were interviewing like Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill, and they said that they were still filming the movie, but they cut the trailer because sometimes they would cut the trailer with footage available. That way they get hype built. Like coming this summer to a theater near Star Wars, and they said they were in the theater, and then someone in the audience says, "Yeah, coming to midnight on what was it on? Yeah, coming to midnight on syndicated TV." Like the guy in the audience made some joke that would end up on TV in no time. It would be considered a bad B movie, but. Obviously, he was wrong, right? But they were mortified. They thought, what if what they're making is going to be like a B movie? I guess like Star Crash, right?
Yeah.
You ever see Star Crash?
I have. I don't remember the details.
Apparently the villain in that movie hid the weapon. It would take an entire planet to conceal the weapon. I'm thinking, well, it looks like JJ ripped that off for Force Awakens,
right?
You see, H.E. Boomer. JJ ripped off. JJ is not. JJ Star was nothing was original.
No, pretty much true.
He ripped off the Goonies.
Yeah,
there's like a scene in it that's like directly from the Goonies. It's like, I know that's from the Goonies. Stop.
It's like that. It's like that meme with like Walter White. He's like putting all the. It's like putting the. He has like the test tubes and he's putting stuff into it. He's like J.J. Abrams ripping off, taking the exact thing. Oh, fucking shit! I can't think words.
I can't think words.
J.J. Abrams finding the best way to rip off all of his favorite childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and making a very bad batch of meth, I guess, in the process, or
well, I mean, you do fan fiction, and you have these studios sending you cease and desist. you know, J.J. Abrams does it, and they give him millions of dollars. I don't know.
Let me. I am still. I was angry at J.J. Abrams for Star Trek Into Darkness. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
No one talks about Into Darkness, where they basically ripped off Wrath of Khan but did it badly.
Yeah.
And it's
well,
like,
there's a lot of Star Trek fans that talk about that, but the general audiences just have lost interest.
I've seen the first of his Star Trek movie. I thought it was okay.
I didn't hate the first one. I mean, it was flawed. I don't know how Troy feels. Maybe they kind of mess up the warp core.
It's another one that's a lot like Force Awakens, you know, where it was not great, but not horrible. Until the next one comes out and then retroactively makes the first one worse.
Like, I like the fact that Pike actually survives, and I thought that was a nice touch, and because I always thought Captain Pike got the short shrift, and at least something good come out of this rewriting timeline. Oh, let's kill Pike off at the beginning of the next movie. Thank you. It's and I'm like, the one good thing about rebooting Star Trek is that the Klingons could be adversaries again. Of course, I would argue maybe in a sequel series you could have the Klingons be adversaries again because of how things were not going. Remember Galron in the Dominion War at the beginning of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Galron was wanting to wage war on the Federation after the Dominion War was over. Remember that? He was a bad leader.
Well, he was a little misguided. You could argue a lot of otherwise really good leaders that just had really, really bad advice. I'm thinking about Bushes. I'm thinking about Orange Man. You know, great intentions. Probably if they'd been left to their own devices, might have done a lot better. But they listened to all the wrong people.
The experts.
And in Gowron's case, literally it was an infiltrator of the enemy that he was listening to.
Rose Fire. It's a challenge. You take a bite and then the avocado. Oh, I'm sorry.
She's talking about.
I'm sorry. Private conversation.
Instead of bagels and lox, she's talking about avocado and lox. And I'm like, yeah, I'd try it. Sure.
Is it like avocado toast?
Oh,
I had fajitas for dinner, and it came with some guacamole. I had some guacamole tonight. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No,
this.
But yeah, we're talking food as a side thing in the chat.
This story put a smile on my face. Ms. Marvel's star and Kevin Feige are arguing about the Doctor Strange continuity.
What?
Okay, I'm going to get into it. This is a funny one. Ms. Marvel star Iman Vellani is not shy about sharing her nerdy opinions with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. I have so many opinions, which I don't think we have time for, Vellani told Elite Daily when asked about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Here's my TLDR. I love Sam Raimi, but as for how the film ultimately treated Black Bolt, I don't care what everyone says. He's my guy, the actor said. I think they did him dirty. I did not appreciate that. Wow.
Yeah.
Vellani is well known for her MCU opinions mirroring the fangirl nature of Kamala Khan in the comics, and it's not hard to see why she take issue with Black Bolt's unceremonious end, considering Ms. Marvel in the comics is an inhuman and Black Bolt is the racist king, but that wasn't her only issue in the film.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to Kevin, we have this argument where I say the MCU is not 616, Vellani said, about the revelation in Doctor Strange 2 of Earth's designation in the multiverse. He's like, it is because I said so. I'm like, no, it's 199999. He hates it. So we keep having this argument, and then they put 616 in the movie. I'm like, Kevin, it's not 616. He just sends me a sad face. I was like, great. After years of fans dubbing the main comic book universe Earth 616, Marvel officially adopted it. There have been Easter eggs for the number in the MCU, but it's long been assumed that the film takes place in the 199999 universe since they are clearly separate from the books. But with Doctor Strange 2 dubbing the MCU as Earth 616, it calls into question how the universe can exist alongside the comics, especially when there are MCU canon comics separate from the main Marvel books. Okay,
So
yeah, go ahead.
let me jump in on this. So first off, I'm going to say very much to the actress's credit. This is one of those things where I can't stand what's going on in the Marvel universe, and to hear that there is someone involved in it that kind of has the same kind of geekiness about it. It's like, okay, that I can respect. And she's actually even saying some of the same things that the fans are. And she is being disrespected and not listened to by Kevin Feige.
Do you know what I had to say? Put her in charge. Put her in charge. She'd have to do a better job than Kevin Feige.
I respect that she loves the minor details like that.
Well, she liked Blackball, and she, like I said, a lot of those heroes in that scene in Doctor Strange 2, and granted, all their alternate universe versions, it doesn't matter. You don't want to see your heroes getting unceremoniously axed like that, but it's just an alternate universe, so who cares? It's still Blackball, right? It's still Mr. Fantastic. It's still, I mean, spoiler alert.
What happened to them?
Well,
well, if you see Doctor Strange 2, you can find
even
out,
before
right?
we get there. The fact is, we're dealing with a bunch of alternate universe stuff. So basically, one of the biggest criticisms that both comic book fans, Marvel U fans, and the average viewer have had to say about it is, well, none of this means anything because it's all a bunch of people from alternate universe getting killed that have no impact on the rest of, you know, the main world. The other thing, Kevin Feige saying, well, because I say so, 616, and everybody that keeps the canon of the comics is saying, no, that's just not the case. It kind of goes back to an old argument that I remember from back in the 70s about Earth 1 and Earth 2 in DC, right? There was the old heroes that fought in World War II, and they're called Earth 2. Whereas the current storylines taking place in the 70s, the younger versions of those characters was Earth 1. And the obvious question is, well, why is Earth 2 the old guys that came first? And the young guys are Earth 1. Shouldn't it be the other way around? And I remember one editor at a convention, and I can't remember who it was, and I can't cite this. I just have to give this anecdotally, saying, well, maybe on Earth 2, they called themselves Earth 1. So I suppose you could make the argument that the MCU Cumberbatch Doctor Strange calls his world 616, even though, you know, Uatu, the Watcher, might say, yeah, that's what you think.
I don't really like multiverse storylines. Sometimes they can work. I did like the Justice League animated movie, Crisis on Two Earths.
I love that. It's one of the best.
I thought that was well done because at least it seemed like there was a point. But again, what I actually liked about that movie is that when the good Lex Luthor from the universe comes to the Justice League of that Earth and says, "We need your help on our side," and Batman says no, but then Superman and the rest of the team go and help him. He says, "Listen to me, there are billions of lives at stake on this other Earth. We have to go." And I like the fact that Superman and Street, these are still people too, just like the people in our world. We have. I
have not seen it, but I have read the comic that it is based on.
Yes, in the comic, it's so much better.
Yeah, but there are some elements in that comic that I think are just brilliant for comic book fans. For example, when the good Lex Luthor comes over to our universe and he's in, you know, Lex Luthor's office, he says something to his secretary who's off panel and refers to as Miss Teskmacher. He says, "Miss Teskmacher, take the day off, full pay," you know, and I'm like, and he's like, okay, that's great.
He gives everyone he gives everyone a raise, and it's like, I think that's what causes Superman to be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah, what happened to Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah,
well, I do like the idea that maybe on some other Earth, Lex Luthor could have been a hero and could have been a good guy. I do like that.
Like I think you were talking about last time, like like Marvel. He's like what you're talking about last week with like Magneto and Doctor Lex Luthor is like up there with them.
Yeah,
he has a lot of complexity to with him.
He's a prime supervillain. But what I liked about I often feel in DC you can have all these gradations in all the different universes, but Darkseid and Highfather, that has to be the constant.
yeah.
You know, maybe you could have one where they kept their sons and Calabac and Orion were where they were supposed to be, but don't do the.
Well, the brilliant thing about the New Gods was that Darkseid, for example, all of them really, but Darkseid, for example, isn't meant to have alternate versions in alternate universes. He's a multi-dimensional creature, and all you're seeing is an aspect of him in that universe.
Which
is interesting.
I remember that's what Grant Morrison came up with. Originally, it was supposed to be every universe. It was the same Darkseid, but eventually Grant Morrison did it like every universe. It was an aspect of Darkseid, which Grant Morrison. I love his writing, but holy shit, he can do some stupid stuff sometimes. Like with the comic of Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. He refrained from having the superheroes fight their counterparts, which is kind of the whole point.
Yeah, you're really missing your the intent of it.
Yeah, which is I know what he's coming from, but it was a bad choice, which is why the movie is so much better.
Yeah, well, what was interesting about the movie too, at least their counterpoints, they weren't them exactly. It was like a different Ultraman isn't Superman Clark Kent. Maybe he was a different Kryptonian. Maybe he wasn't even a Kryptonian. He wasn't even a Kryptonian. Okay, yeah.
Who obtained powers from kryptonite or something.
Okay, that makes sense, and that's why different kryptonite affected him, right? Okay, yeah.
I love that. I love that in the movie. Superman was just a mobster.
Yeah, basically.
He acted like a mobster. They
even had the accent.
He acted like he had like a voice like Tony Soprano would, like the way he talked and stuff, and just all the different.
Yeah, like James Woods with the lips. We gotta do a rewatch of that movie sometime. That is one of the best.
Oh, Justice League Crisis on
right.
Two Earths.
I think that would be a great idea. Yeah,
it's a good one, and I like James Woods as Owlman, and I think the Green Lantern in the other universe, doesn't he get the powers from some Lovecraftian type space monster or something? It's like it's everything's scoop, but it's not like that's Hal Jordan. It's a different character.
Well, I thought that. I mean, the Flash over there was. I swear he was the most on the nose. He's literally juicing. He's taking a drug.
That's funny.
That's
funny.
It's a speed.
Yeah, and I like from the costume. Oh shit, dude, we should really do that. We should do that rewatch sometime now.
Sure.
But the costume for in the movie, it's meant to be Wally West Flash, and the Johnny Quick has this costume that's colored like Kid Flash with even the head cut off, so he has orange hair flowing up.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we actually have a DC story next.
But speaking of Flash.
Yes, speaking of Flash.
Exactly.
Ezra Miller. Oh, man. Ezra Miller. Parents say actors taken control of their daughter, asked court for protective order. And I know you had sent me another story about a young man, I think, from the same tribe or from a different tribe. I don't know.
But it's weird.
Ezra Miller is not only a bad influence. That's right. That's his pronoun of choice. That's theirs. Anyway. They're a danger to a well-being of an 18-year-old woman, at least according to her parents, who are asking a court to step in and keep the actor away from her. According to new legal docs obtained by TMZ, Tokata Iron Eyes met a then 23-year-old Miller in 2016 when she was just 12, and the actor was visiting the Standing Rock Reservation, North Dakota. From there, Dakota's parents say she and Ezra developed a friendship they believe puts Takata at risk. Takata's parents say Miller flew her to London in 2017 to visit the studio where Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was filmed, as she was a big fan and Miller was the star in the movie. At the time of the trip, they say Takata was 14 and Ezra was 25. As their friendship continued, Takata's parents claimed Ezra supplied their underage daughter with alcohol, marijuana, and LSD. Not only that, they claim Ezra, best known as the Flash in the DC superhero films, disrupted Takada's schooling at a private institute in Massachusetts so much he dropped out in December 2021. The parents say they flew to Miller's Vermont home in January to get their daughter and discovered she didn't have her driver's license, car keys, bank card, and other items needed to navigate life independently. Do you think he took them from her and hid them or something?
I think that is the implication.
This is like, I don't want to say stalker. This is like, this definitely sounds predatory. They say they also found bruises on Takada's body, which they allege Ezra caused. Shortly after she got home, Takada's parents say she fled to New York City to reunite with Ezra, and from there, the pair has been traveling together to Vermont, Hawaii, and Los Angeles. The two were spotted at a club in Hawaii in video obtained by TMZ. As we reported, Miller got arrested several times during their stay in Hawaii, including an incident where they allegedly attacked bar patrons. In the docs, Takada's parents state Ezra uses violence, intimidation, threat of violence, fear, paranoia, delusions, and drugs to hold sway over a young adolescent Takada. They claim Ezra also told Takada to solely go by Gibson, a nickname she formerly used with her family and friends. Then there's this. They say Ezra's decided Takada is non-binary transgender when she had previously declared herself non-binary queer gay. It seems Takada is aware of her parents' concerns. She recently took to social media to say she's mentally stable, and her comrade Ezra has been a help in her life. She also says she's recently gotten a therapist and is looking forward to the future. Takada's parents are asking the court to step in and issue an order of protection against Ezra on behalf of their daughter, and a hearing is set for next month. We reached out to Ezra's team. So far, no word back. This is rather complicated because... Go ahead.
It's only a matter of time before Ezra digs a long enough hole for WB to just lay him off.
They are in a real pickle with their Flashpoint movie. They keep putting it off, and I don't think they know what they can. What are they going to do behind the scenes?
Every month they put it off as Miller comes up with a new controversy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a toxic situation for them. Midnight's Edge did a great rundown of it. What do? They can't replace. They would literally have to refilm, scrap the movie and refilm the entire movie if they were going to replace him, because that movie's in the can. It's done, and they can't go back and refilm any scenes because all the sets have been struck. So it would have to be something of the order of
maybe digitally go in, remove Ezra's face and impose.
But that runs into the Crispin Glover lawsuit from Back to the Future 2. That's not really an option legally speaking for them.
I think they just take the loss and
the best they could do would be more like the Eric Stoltz from Back to the Future 1, where you just refilm all of his scenes and use as much as you can where he's not actually in it. You know, the over-the-shoulder shots and whatnot. That's the hard point. In fact, it's even worse with Ezra, because from what we hear, there are alternate universe versions of the Flash, and he plays them all. So he's like in every scene.
I almost say if they could just get the actor from the TV show, whether or not, and trust me, I'm not necessarily a big fan of the Flash TV show, but there's nothing wrong with the actor who plays the Flash on that show, and they could
just
because they need somebody right now while they fix this mess.
Whether him or not, I don't really think it matters who they choose. What they have to decide is, what do they want to do with their DC universe going forward? Are they going to double down, triple down, quadruple down on the Snyderverse? Are they going to completely reboot? What are they going to do? They have never had anybody with any vision like John Favreau, who would come in and say, okay, look, this is what we're going to do. Multi-phase, multi-film, multi-character, and this is how we're going to outline it.
Like Marvel,
we're all going to end up with Thanos.
Right.
Yeah. Well, first phase of Marvel was really about building up to the Avengers uniting as a team. First, you introduce the individual heroes, then you get the team, which is what I thought would have made sense with Justice League.
Nope, they do
And
everything backwards.
right now. And the funniest part about this is that WB have had people that have done it before and are doing it right now. Bruce Timm has built Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Dwayne McDuffie have all built the DCAU, and Chris Palmer and Tim Sheridan are right now. They're doing the new animated movie universe, which has been doing really well.
Right,
Again.
right. The one that has Justice League, the Justice Society movie, they did that.
Yeah, and the Superman Man of Tomorrow, and they got a Green Lantern movie coming out. But they just can't do it with live action. It's
because
really
unfortunately they don't have unilateral say in stuff like that. You got a bunch of studio people that don't know what the hell they're doing, casting people like Ezra Miller and Amber Heard. I'm sorry, all you Zack Snyder fans out there that think he's so great. You know, I disagree with you about the Snyderverse in general, but I really disagree with you about his casting choices. You know, this has nothing to do with story. This has to do, he's screwed the Warner Brothers live action superhero world just in his casting alone.
But it wasn't just him, though. The whole Batman versus Superman movie, that thing had been floating around for a couple decades. Someone over at Warner Brothers had a desire to see this Batman versus Superman movie. And of course, eventually Snyder comes along and works it into it.
I said that would have been fine if they had done it
tastefully,
smart. If they had, because there had been talk for a while about a what's it called? Christopher Reeve. What do you call it? Christopher Reeve. Michael Keaton crossover, and that would have been your Batman versus Superman.
And then they wanted the Nicolas Cage as Superman.
The fact is, I keep saying this. What they did with Batman versus Superman was a low rent bastardization of The Dark Knight Returns, and that storyline does not work unless you've had Batman and Superman being friends and working together for years before they end up on opposite sides of an issue. Okay, you could not do Civil War in the
second
Marvel
movie.
Yeah, you know, you needed time to build up the Avengers, to have Cap and Tony be friends before they end up on opposite sides. I mean, that's what it really was.
They could have done a really good World's Finest movie. Just adapt the animated movie, the 3-parter.
Yeah.
Just extend it out a little bit. They could have made a really good movie out of that.
Want to say goodnight to Rosefire. Thank you for showing up tonight, and catch the rest of it later.
It's really funny with WB because everything they've done wrong, they've done right somewhere else that this isn't the comics.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
They're doing it right somewhere else that isn't the movies.
You're absolutely right.
But here's another problem too. This case that I'm talking about specifically, is this person Ezra Roosevelt? Is she gonna go to the authorities? Is she gonna defend him? Is it like a what do you call it?
It's
Stockholm syndrome thing. That's what it's looking like to here. This is also a tribe, right? This isn't so their law is different from the U.S. laws. This is a mess. I don't know what they do and they can't release if they're gonna release Ezra Miller, they got to release it as soon as possible because he keeps piling up.
It's again like what I said. Every month that they release it, Ezra Miller is just going to come up with a new controversy. Who knows how many skeletons he has in a closet?
I mean, I've saw some articles about him now hiding from the police. You know, they can't serve him because they don't know where he is. I mean, that sounds like some pretty big news, you know?
Yeah, that was due to I guess a boy from the tribe. They said 18-year-old boy in the article. That's what I said. Let's hold off on that one till I get clarification. Maybe he was a boy when Ezra Miller groomed him or something, but 18-year-old, that's not a boy unless maybe in this tribe's rules you are a boy at 18. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
Well, nowadays when they say boy, we don't know if they're actually talking about a boy or if they're talking about someone who's a girl that now shaves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could just mentally call yourself a boy forever, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But honestly, they should just can the movie. It's dead in
They've
the water.
spent so much money on it, though.
Take the loss. It's
Yeah.
gonna be
No,
better
they
than
got to
what-
do
There-
something with
there
it.
was there was another option that Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge came up with that I thought was actually quite brilliant. They have footage of like Michael Keaton and some other superheroes doing their superhero things.
like the
They-
Supergirl from that universe and all that. Yeah.
What they could do is they could take all those scenes and splice them into something else, like a Warner Brothers or HBO Max or whatever series based on a completely different character, like Booster Gold, you know, and have him doing time travel and alternate universes and stuff, and encounter these. It's a way to use some of the footage, you know.
Do you know what this is reminding me of?
Hmm.
There was a movie made years back called CQ. That was the name of the movie, and it was about. It was directed by Roman Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola's son, and it was about a young director in the late 1960s, and he was working as an editor on this movie, right?
Uh-huh.
And you have this meeting with this producer that is clearly supposed to be based on Dilo De Laurentiis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what they were making was some kind of futuristic spy movie mixed with Barbarella called Project Dragonfly. And like the director was saying, you know, there is no ending, or maybe the ending is a beginning, and he's saying, and it's all about the revolution and the better tomorrow and stuff like this. And then like the director said, and the director, you know, and the producer says, you know what the next thing he says is, "You're fired. You made a movie with no ending." You know, it's like, and that's what this reminded me of. It's like instead you have an actor that you can't use, but he's the main actor of the movie. I don't know how to fix this.
I know.
And it's because all the stupid CGI houses are so booked, it's holding up the release of this thing. So they can't even get it out, like get it out the door, like get it out now. Get it out this year before.
You want to know something funny that I think could actually be the kind of thing that would actually work in Warner Brothers' favor? Scrap Flashpoint and release a completely new Flashpoint that's done completely in animation.
They already made a Flashpoint animation movie.
Fuck.
I hear it's pretty good.
It was all right. It was the start of that last DC movie universe, which I didn't care as much for. The
only good movie in that whole.
The point is, there's really only two storylines that they got where they can reboot. One is Crisis on Infinite Earths, which they already fucked up in the TV version. Your only other option is Flashpoint.
Or you go with the third option.
Make
something new.
Complete reboot that touches nothing, right?
Yeah.
Is that the where we meet the Smallville Clark Kent and he says, I gave up my powers to farm the back 40 like Pa Kent would have wanted.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Which, to be blunt, is that's the ending. That's
but you see Age of Boomer.
Yeah.
They're pushing for an animated series, so who cares about that?
Yeah.
A Smallville animated series? Yeah. I'll watch that if that comes out. I'll be there day one because I guess
they're gonna have to deal with Alison.
But you know, I think you're
recast the voice.
You're stepping over your obvious transition. We should just start something brand new, like a sequel to the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
which, you know, I don't agree with that movie, but I respect that they're going the capitalistic way with making a sequel.
Well, I mean, yeah, when push comes to shove, you can say whatever you want to about lore and world building and all of that kind of stuff, but all the studio is going to say is, we made a fuck ton of money on the first movie. We're making a fucking sequel.
It made a lot of good memes. I could say that.
I'm going to step away for a second. I'll be right back.
I'll go ahead and start reading. Yep. This has been building since before Tommy Emmerich exited and Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdi took the reins at Warner Brothers. Joaquin Phoenix hasn't quite signed a deal to reprise the role as the disturbed murderous anarchist Arthur Fleck in a sequel to the billion-dollar grossing Joker, but the film is a go. Director Todd Phillips revealed on Instagram that there's a Joker sequel script he just wrote with Scott Silver and that Joaquin Phoenix, who won an Oscar for playing the title role, is reading it. That isn't quite true. Phoenix read it a while ago, and it has come down to making a rich deal for him to star in the genre-jumping sequel. The screenplay is titled Joker. Folie à deux. The French
Sounds like
reference. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say it sounds French.
I need someone more educated than myself. What does that say? Okay, yeah, okay. The French reference for being a medical term pertaining to a mental disorder which affects 2 or more people. The first Joker was the
Jeez,
highest.
no, I hope we don't get Harley.
Yeah, maybe keep her out of this. That might be a good
Yeah.
idea. Let's not go Harley. I don't think they will, because you just came off of what's her name being Harley. I don't think they're going to try to
Margot
drag her
Robbie,
back
yeah.
in. Margot Robbie, yeah. That you can always keep her out of it anyway.
I
Plus, to be fair, she's supposed to come on the scenes until after Batman showed up anyway. So,
yeah, I wonder what if they make Batman the villain in this one.
well, like I said,
that would be. Sorry.
Oh, well, like you said in the comment, he can be the antagonist and not the villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Excuse me, antagonist. Excuse, like him, Jim Gordon. That'd be cool.
I have a suspicion of where they could go with this, but I don't know. I'll lay out. Okay, first Joker was highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, 1.7 billion worldwide, notched 11 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Not that means anything when you have 9 pictures being nominated. But let's see here. The firing up of a Joker sequel will benefit DeLuca and Abdi, who will run the studio temporarily DC for Warner Discovery. David Zaslav, DeLuca, and Abdi are overseeing DC in the interim. Following Emmerich's departure, and Zaslav looks for an executive to run across all mediums. Okay. Motion picture side of things, DC is overseen during the Emmerich era by Walter Amada, who was responsible for getting the Batman spin-off HBO Max series based on Colin Farrell's The Penguin is in the works. Okay.
I can't wait for that.
As well as the Suicide Squad spin-off. I heard he was the best part of that Batman movie, actually.
He wasn't the I don't think it was the
was
best
good,
part, but he was the most fun part.
Okay. People said they couldn't recognize him. They didn't even realize it was him.
They did such a good job with the makeup.
Yeah.
Oh.
Suicide Squad Peacemaker with the film's director, writer James Gunn behind it. Okay, so also upcoming DC side for Warner's is Dwayne Johnson star Black Adam in October, Shazam Fury of the Gods at Christmas, and next year's The Flash, though Ezra Miller's odd behavior leaves a question mark. Thank you for putting that in the article. Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom. Black Adam and Shazam Fury of the Gods, that's still clearly in Snyderverse, so I believe is Aquaman. I don't know what's going on, but the Joker is not in any of them. Joker is its own self-contained thing.
Yeah, but like Joker and the Batman, you get the feeling that WB know that, yeah, maybe we got to distance ourselves from Snyder and then just slowly cut the cord.
Well, I'd be shocked if they had a Joker show up in this new series if they wouldn't have Joaquin Phoenix play him, even if it's not the same character from these Joker movies. I don't know. I was thinking if you were to do this, I don't know. I like the idea of maybe. Didn't an earthquake happen in Gotham once?
No Man's
Land. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the movie starts out, earthquake happens, Arthur Fleck gets loose from Arkham Asylum, and then maybe he's on the street and some mobster tells him to hide something or hold a bag while the cops are after him and says, hey, you did a good job there. You need a job. And then he ends up working as a 2-bit hood for the mob, even though they don't realize it's the guy who was in the Insane. I don't know.
That would be a brilliant...
He becomes Red Hood.
Yeah. They could lead into Red Hood, later on. Yeah.
That would be a brilliant nod to the way the Joker was in the Golden Age.
Yeah.
Where he was just this, gimmicky crook,
Because I like the idea of him. I always liked even the Nicholson movie that he was working for organized crime, and he was still nuts, a bad person before he became the Joker. But I don't know where they're going to go with this. Yeah,
at the end of the movie, you get Flash, you get Batman coming in, he gets knocked in a pool of acid.
Yeah,
and then the next movie, and then the Joker 3, you get a comic accurate Joker.
He can be the full on Joker as it's supposed to be. That'd be interesting. Plus, it would be poetic justice considering what happened in the first Joker movie. Like I said, I'm mixed on the Joker movie. I don't have the hatred that some of the fans have for it. I feel for starters, they say don't make the Joker sympathetic, but I never really found him all that sympathetic in this. He was a disturbed man.
I think it has good points and it has bad points.
Yeah, and again, unreliable narrator anyway, so it's okay if you don't like the movie. I'm not going to attack it, but I just don't think it ruins. I just think it ruins the character, like other people said it does. But
it doesn't.
I don't know. Okay, that's all.
It's hard to ruin a character who has had so many interpretations in popular culture.
Well, yeah, but I've argued that in this movie they say Joker shouldn't have an origin. Well, I argue it's about a man trying to find out his origin and not realizing he doesn't have one. That's kind of what the movie was.
I don't. Nowadays, I don't really care for the Joker not having an origin. As long as it's done good, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. What about Joker 2, Troy? Any thoughts?
I really feel that this is, regardless of what you think about the film, maybe it was the best thing since sliced bread. My problem is this is another example of DC putting the cart in front of the horse. You're telling the villain story before you tell the hero story. I mean, although one could argue that Batman's been told 25 million times, technically this is not.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say this is not the Joker of the Batfleck universe.
It's its own thing. So you're there. If they don't plan on telling the hero story, then whatever. Tell this villain story all you want.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, you can't not eventually have a Batman. You can't have Joker without Batman eventually. If you're going to make the Joker the central character, there's a real problem with that.
Well, here's the deal, though. Is he really the Joker in this movie? I mean, he wears the clown makeup because he had a job as like a side clown thing, like
what would be kind of funny is if,
and then of course he had the guy call him Joker, but again, it could just be he's still Arthur Fleck, and later on he'll become
he's kind of like
Joker that we know about.
He's kind of like this. He's kind of like this proto Joker. He's not. He's
like a proto Joker. Yeah,
it's
like the proto alien in Prometheus. I'm kidding.
You know what I would really like is to find out, like in the second movie, he thinks that he is the Joker that we have seen in all the Batman movies, but then you realize he's actually in a cell next to that Joker.
But this movie has so much promise, though. The second one,
well,
it can go so many different ways.
We'll see. Do you know why Todd Phillips made this movie? He was a director of comedies. He made the Hangover movies. Mm-hmm. He said that you can't make comedies anymore in Hollywood because of all the PC stuff. So I'm just going to make a dark movie. And I guess I somehow he got the Joker okayed. I don't know how that happened, but
again, I still see it as Taxi Driver and the King of Comedy.
What kind of is? Really I need to watch King of Comedy. I have seen Taxi Driver many times because it's one of my favorite movies. But okay, all right. Any last thoughts on this?
Yeah, it has promise.
We'll see. I mean, at least I won't be bored, right? Probably during at least watching it. Speaking of things I probably would be bored by, but let's maybe not. Let's be kind. I don't know. Maybe it might be good, right? I mean, it's Netflix.
Yeah,
right?
And monkeys might fly out of my butt. I mean, you never know.
Netflix has unveiled the premiere date for the upcoming Sandman series, starring Tom Sturridge, Gwendolyn Christie, Vivian Pong, and more. They will be joined by Mark Hamill, who will voice the beloved character Merv Pumpkinhead. During day one of its Geeked Week event, the streamer also shared that The Sandman will debut on August 5th. Based on the popular comic series by Neil Gaiman, The Sandman is a 10-episode series described as a rich blend of modern myth and dark fantasy in which contemporary fiction, historical drama, and legend are seamlessly interwoven. The Sandman follows the people and places affected by Morpheus, the Dream King, as he tries to fix all the cosmic and human mistakes he's made during his vast existence. The series also features Boyd Holbrook, Charles Dance, David Thewlis, Jenna Coleman. From Doctor Who.
Fuck.
You don't like her?
I love Jenna Coleman, but I don't like the role she's playing.
Okay.
It's another one of those gender bending bullshit roles.
Is she the black chick that is playing Death?
No, that's somebody else, I think. Yeah, because I know that Death was typically like a goth
I'm
girl,
not
right?
happy about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Stephen Fry.
Death had such a fantastic design
I
in the
know.
original
People,
book, and they just throw it away.
I know people were complaining about Patton Oswalt,
Oh,
Fuck 'em.
wonderful.
Fuck 'em.
Charlie Richardson, Azim Sondri. Okay, blah blah blah. In addition to Fear Date, Netflix also shared a dramatic first teaser for the fantasy series, and Clip Storage makes his debut as Dream, Akabapong as Lucine, and Holbrook as the Corinthian. I have a question for you. Sandman, was that Vertigo Comics?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is Vertigo owned by DC?
yeah.
Yes.
Why is a DC property showing up on Netflix?
Good question.
Why is this not an HBO Max series?
Crappy management.
Did they make a deal? Did somebody at the time figure, oh, well, that's not really DC, so we can just license it out? It's
Yeah,
just like
probably.
how Marvel licensed out the Avengers and stuff before. It just strikes me as odd. I would have felt they would have liked to have kept it over at
In-house.
HBO, do a series there. Do you think this is going to be any good?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not
I
watching it.
can't imagine that it would be. I saw the trailer. I saw much of the flavor of what I loved about the Sandman, but these diversity castings tell me not to get my hopes.
I heard the death was recast, and I lost interest.
Yeah.
I know people are very particular. That character has a very particular look, and I don't know how that's going to be represented on the show.
Such a fantastic design. Yeah. It's like Domino, which I like the actress, but they did not do the character's design justice in the Deadpool 2 movie.
It was, if anything, it was just funny.
It was a spoof, though. If you think about it,
it kind of was. It was kind of a spoof of the race swapping, in a very unique way.
Yeah,
Deadpool 2 was funny.
He's the Juggernaut.
Yeah, no, the song.
Them.
The song, the holy shit bowls thing. Yes, I remember that. That was just
they did. I'm happy that they did Colossus right. He's one of my top 5 X-Men.
He was in X-Men Last Stand. Remember?
Yeah, but
everybody
who
hated
cares
that
about
version.
that movie? At least they didn't do him wrong in that movie. They didn't do him right, but they didn't.
What I liked about him is, I'm the Juggernaut. Why do you wear that thing? It protects my head. Remember he said that.
And then you got Deadpool 2. Why do you wear that big dumb? My brother doesn't uses psychic powers on my mind, but he's in a wheelchair, so even Stevens.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. This may be major news. This next one, Paramount hit with Top Gun copyright lawsuit from original article author heirs. I don't know about you. I mean, I'll read a bit from the article. But this could end up blowing up into something big. Paramount Pictures has been drawn into possible massive legal battle over the rights to Top Gun, according to a lawsuit filed on Monday in California federal court. The studio knew it didn't have the rights to the sequel, but forged ahead with production and distribution anyway. Yes,
the nuts on these people. This
is interesting. Yeah, the complaint was filed by Shosh and Yuval Yanye, the heirs to the author of the 1983 California magazine story Ehud Yanye, entitled "Top Guns," that the original movie was based on. They are taking advantage of a provision in copyright law that allows authors to reclaim the rights to their works after waiting a period of time, typically 35 years. The clause has quickly become a massive thorn in the side of studios that face the prospect of losing franchise rights to many iconic works from the 1980s. The Yangees claim that the rights to the story reverted back to them in January 2020 after sending Paramount a notice of termination, but that the studio deliberately ignored this, thumbing its nose at the statute. They seek an injunction to block the studio from further exploiting Top Gun Maverick. This case arises out of Paramount's conscious failure to reacquire the requisite film and ancillary rights to Yange's copyright story prior to the completion and release of their derivative 2022 sequel, writes copyright termination heavyweight Mark Toberoff and federal appellate judge Alex Kozinski, representing the Yanyees. Paramount acquired the copyright to Yanye's story in 1983, immediately following publication. The piece about a naval training base focused on the pilots and their personal experiences, singling out the duo of hotshot pilots Yogi and his radio interceptor officer Possum. Jerry Bruckheimer produced the original movie, and its screenplay was written by Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr., all of whom participated in the sequel. According to the lawsuit, Paramount consciously failed to secure a new license to the film after Yanyees recovered their rights in 2020. They sent the studio a cease and desist letter regarding Top Gun Maverick on May 11, 2022, 2 weeks before its release. Paramount allegedly denied that the movie was a derivative of the copyrighted stories. The Yanyees contend that the movie wasn't completed until May 8th, 2021, more than a year after its right to the story had expired. Paramount, however, has maintained that the sequel was sufficiently completed prior to the termination date. Okay, what do you think? Court battle?
Okay.
Yep.
No, I'm gonna be the voice of reason in the room here.
Okay.
First, that article is pretty biased. They're trying to drum up some scandal. Read our article. Give us clicks.
Okay.
What it is and this could go really bad for them. It could. But ultimately, it sounds like the studio is banking on, you know what? We didn't really have to buy a license when we first did this. They didn't. It sounds like what their argument is going to be is, look, there is not enough intellectual property in that article that we had to license it. We did a story about a bunch of guys working that as they were pilots at this actual place that exists in the real world, doing adventures. None of the names that we used were names that you had in your article. The most you might be able to argue is we use the name Top Gun, but again, Top Gun is not an original. That's a colloquialism taken from the real world.
It's an actual flight school.
Exactly. So what they actually did was something that happens oftentimes in Hollywood. By buying a license, they're making an announcement to other studios. We're making a movie that's basically about this. Back off, So in other words, to prevent the idea of someone else saying, "Hey, let's us do something like that too," But they didn't need to. They could have done it without ever paying for the license. And it seems like they're banking on, oh, well, you paid us for the license, so you acknowledged the need for the license. Therefore, we can sue you based on the license. Honestly, what this really is, I mean, 10, 20 years ago, a studio would say, yeah, take us to court. And then they stretch it out until you're bankrupt, But what it's more likely to be right now, it's a shakedown for a settlement is what it really is.
Now,
and it seems like they wait until they find out, oh, this movie's big and successful. It's the most successful film in years. I want some of that.
everybody wants some.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I brought this up, why this seemed rather shocking, because it almost seemed like Paramount figured the way the article at least puts it, like Paramount decided they did not renew it because this movie was originally supposed to come out in 2019, so they wouldn't even have had to do it while under the terms of the original contract, as at least this side is saying. But because they waited a couple years, maybe they did some more edits. Did they shoot some extra footage? I don't know.
I could see how this would go in court. I could totally see them saying, okay, can you please point to in your article where the name Goose appears? Can you point, to where Maverick appears? Okay. At what point are they playing volleyball in your article? You're going
to try to bring Marvel in here to try to sue us over Iceman?
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And I mean, and then, even if they lost, they could always appeal. And, whoever wrote this article, do you have the money to keep fighting this? but it might be worthwhile to just give a payout and say, you know what, fine, we'll offer you this. We'll offer you this many millions to just walk away from this thing. And if they say no, that's when they start playing hardball and go, okay, fine, we'll fuck you up.
Yeah. So we'll see how this plays out. Do you think this is just going to disappear?
I don't know. I could see it going either way. I'm kind of interested to see what does happen with it. I kind of am. We'll see.
A sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife has officially been announced. I feel like we keep announcing, Ghostbusters, but to be fair, this is when we confirm that this is a direct sequel to Afterlife.
Well, here's the thing we should point out, because we've got this with another article that we've got tonight. We share the news with you, and sometimes we're sharing just the announcement of a rumor or half. We don't have all the information, so sometimes we do want to come back and fill you in on the update. Let the other shoe drop, so to speak.
This year's Ghostbusters Day celebration is wrapped, and there's a lot of news to get to, with likely the biggest being confirmation that the next Ghostbusters film will serve as a sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife, carrying on the story of the Spengler family. The announcement was made by the filmmaking team of Jason Reitman and Gil Keenan on the Sony Pictures lot, home of tonight's Ecto Fest event. What's the Ecto Fest event?
Yeah, it was a big Ghostbusters convention. Yeah,
that sounds really cool. Fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Much like how Afterlife was given the working title of Rust City, the next installment has also received a code name, with Reitman revealing, "We're writing another movie. Tonight we're going to share the code name for the next chapter in the Spengler family story," adding, "The last time we saw Ecto 1, I was driving back into Manhattan, the home of Ghostbusters. That's where our story begins. The code name is Firehouse."
Yeah.
The film is still currently being written by Reitman and Keenan, with no additional information being available at this time. Over the next day, we'll be unpacking all of the other announcements and reveals from EctoFest, including confirmation of a new animated Ghostbusters feature film, the previously announced animated Netflix show, the Ghostbusters Return to comic books, and more.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting. So we had gotten word that there was going to be a new feature, but we didn't know if it was going to be a sequel or not. We assumed it would be. I think I even said as much. I said it probably will be. We just don't have official notification of it. And then we got the notification that there was going to be this feature, this animated feature, and we're like, well, maybe that's what they're talking about. And we still didn't know if it was going to be related to Afterlife or not. And now we know, nope, they're actually doing a film, and it's actually a sequel to Afterlife. And I'm a little confused by this whole idea of the code name. I mean, just like Rust City. I mean, it's like, can you imagine if, Lucas was to announce Return of the Jedi, where there's going to be a sequel to Empire Strikes Back? The code name for it is Blue Harvest. And it's like, wait a minute, that defeats the whole purpose of it. Because the whole idea is you use the code name so that nobody knows what you're filming. And they don't, the city doesn't rake you on taxes, for a bigger budget film, But
maybe the whole movie just takes place in the firehouse.
Maybe it's a code name for a code name.
Well, there is some official Ghostbusters licensing. That image that I used in the thumbnail of the negative, the white on black outline of the firehouse, with Firehouse written across the front of it, is being licensed and produced by Ghost Corps. You can buy prints of it. So, I mean, that's kind of cool for fans, in the lore of it. I also got to say, if the next film does focus on that locale, then I'm fired up about it, because FDNY Hook and Ladder 8, those guys there have done so much for the fans. And they display, Ghostbuster memorabilia there in the firehouse. And I mean, it's really, really cool. And they've had events there where people will show up with their Ecto one and let them pull it out of the firehouse with lights and sirens and stuff. It's really neat. Those guys there are good people, and I could totally see setting it there again.
Could you imagine though that maybe something gets out of the containment unit and they have to stop it, and the whole movie takes place inside the firehouse?
There does seem to be that at the end of Afterlife, it did seem to imply it was going to be something like that. So yeah, you never know. I mean, who knows? The big bad could be Slimer.
Let's not make it Vigo again.
King Slimer.
I do like Peter McNichol, though, if they could get him back. Yeah, King Slimer, yeah.
King Slimer, yeah. That was
all right, but there's also other Ghostbusters. There's Ghostbusters animated series.
Yeah. Did you
We're using code names, Raising Arizona, yes. Okay, a new Ghostbusters animated series in the works with Jason Reitman and Gil Keenan announced as executive producers, Variety reports. Reitman and Keenan were also the co-writers behind last year's live-action feature Ghostbusters Afterlife, for which Reitman also served as director. At this time, not too much is known about the animated series, with no writer attached to the project. As of this report, production is said to be handled by Netflix and Ghost Corps Inc., based on Sony's Columbia Pictures. Well, it would be a Netflix show because it's Sony, so where else would the Sony series go? Because like I said, they'll eventually buy Netflix. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
I am really what we don't have in the article is the fact that the previously exclusive, I think it was it exclusive to Walmart, or I don't remember which store it was exclusive to. Hasbro had put out the real Ghostbusters action figures. They're now being released through other outlets and internationally. So there does seem to be an even greater resurgence of the marketing for the real Ghostbusters.
It'd be interesting if it was done in that style. Yeah,
exactly. There are
like the lost episodes. That'd be
exactly.
interesting.
There's a lot of fans that are really pushing for this animated feature to be a continuation of the real Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters. I don't have a dog in the hunt. I like them. I like the fact that they exist. But I never collected any of that. Well, I didn't collect any of that memorabilia. My brother did.
I used to play with those toys growing up. Yeah, I remember those. And they would come with slime too. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, which we kept away from my brother. But
obviously, yeah.
But yeah, it was. So I had some of those toys in my house. I know of them. I certainly understand and appreciate the fans that grew up with that. So yeah, I'd be totally behind that if that's what they do with this animated feature. More importantly, I would love to see a good restored release of all the real Ghostbusters on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Extreme Ghostbusters, that was on Hulu for a bit. I don't know if it still is, but you can catch that there, the sequel series. I don't know what this new series will be. It could be like a Lost episodes. It could be a completely original thing. You never know. I mean, you could set stories in the Ghostbusters universe. I mean, it could be.
I mean, the fact that Jason Reitman and Gil Keenan are producing, I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if that means they want to tie it to the Afterlife continuity, or if they're just literally producing it and going to allow someone else to run with the, old animated, I don't know.
Well, they're doing an animated feature too, and would it be interesting if, like, maybe they did a Ghostbusters movie from the perspective of the people who have to call the Ghostbusters to help them out? Maybe the Ghostbusters show up in the movie, but it would be about a family dealing with something,
Yeah.
They could go that. There's all sorts of things you could do. So I'm curious to see what they have in the works. But what do you think, huh? You excited?
I'm excited. I really am. And if it means more, merchandise and stuff like that, I'm all for it. Yeah. I'm kind of a Ghostbusters fan. I really am.
I think Ghostbusters is in healthy shape right now. I know
it sure is. It's got a lot of fan goodwill. I mean, I know Matt Anui is saying he didn't care for Afterlife, but Honestly, that's kind of a minority opinion, you know.
And as at least as was you, it was at least better than the 2016
Well,
one. You have to admit that.
and with the victory, right? Most fans are kind of refraining from shitting on 2016 anymore. There are clearly fans of 2016, and it's like the messed up goofy cousin. Yeah, let him, enjoy himself. We're doing our own thing here.
Yeah, just enjoy yourselves. Stop harping on the past because we got good stuff now. Brian, we got a couple last stories. Do we have time for them, or do you want to call it a night?
No, it's your show, dude. Go for it.
I'm gonna do them then. Okay, I'm just gonna do 2 of them though.
Genghis Khan, how you doing?
Hey,
Changus, yeah, after it was pretty fun. Okay, I don't have the link to this, unfortunately. I forgot to paste it, but it's from the New York Post. Brian Stelter and Jim Acosta could be too liberal for CNN.
I got to find it. Which one was it? The
New York Post. It was the New York Post one, I believe, yeah. CNN's new boss, Chris Licht, is monitoring anchors to ensure their tone follows the network's plan to become less partisan, and personalities such as Brian Stetler and Jim Acosta could be forced out, according to the report. Licht, who has been leading a push toward more fact-driven coverage, yes, please, is said to be reviewing, and I mean that anything, even if it falls in the favor of something I'd rather it not be, just give me the facts, okay? Right. I'll take it. Reviewing whether particular anchors and CNN shows can adhere to the shift. Let's be honest here. I have to go with the facts. This is why I'm not cutting certain people at Disney slack anymore. I was hoping it'd be reformed, but I'm just not seeing the evidence at this point. But
yeah.
The report did mention whether any specific CNN actors were under particular scrutiny, though it did not note that Acosta and Settler were among the personalities whose left-leaning viewpoints have drawn the ire of conservatives. Acosta and Settler and Ray engaged in frequent criticism of and clashes of Republicans during the former President Donald Trump's time in office. Licht reportedly wants CNN's on-air personalities to focus on conducting straightforward interviews and for producers to avoid noise in their booking decisions. The CNN boss is also purportedly seeking to ensure that personality-driven shows that air on the primetime block aren't damaging the network's new ethos. A CNN spokesperson did not immediately return a request for comment. Licht to replace former CNN president Jeff Zucker following his abrupt resignation earlier this year for not disclosing a relationship with a colleague, which is tasked with leading an overhaul of the left-leaning network's operations after the merger with the new parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery. I'll say this: back in the day, it was always Fox News leaned right. MSNBC leaned left. CNN was supposed to be somewhere in the middle, right? Isn't that the impression you always got?
Yeah.
Maybe not. And then they went nuts after a certain election.
Well, and I've heard a lot of commentary by people that have been in the news media industry that are mostly leaving it, saying that in the universities, they're starting to get, all of the indoctrination about this isn't about being objective. This is about pushing, agendas. And so this is not the mentality any longer that it used to be. The whole fair and balanced thing is just thrown out the window. Just the news, just the facts.
This would be so much better if we had decentralization of journalism.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was always supposed to be, and they've always pushed this, right of the press, right, under the First Amendment. But the press was always assumed to be, individuals, putting out, what they, and reporting and passing news around and whatnot. It was supposed to be private, but not these conglomerates. When you end up with oligarchs,
and now in modern day, you got all these YouTubers and like Twitch streamers running around individuals, and it's kind of coming full circle.
And what they're trying to do,
yeah.
The oligarchs are trying to silence the individuals and the independent media, calling them, fake news and blah, 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 and this and that, while the establishment media has literally become the voice of the
propaganda machine.
They are propaganda, exactly. They're the voice of the ruling party.
Yeah, it's like the how you always saw journalists portrayed. They were usually the upstart trying to look for
at
the
Woodward
good
and
story
Bernstein,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Woodward and Bernstein, they brought down the Nixon administration. They pointed out the scandals and the corruption in government, right? Now, like you said, they're the propaganda arm, obscuring the corruption in the establishment.
It's the other way around. Instead of being the one finding corruption, they're the ones being found corrupt.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so things change. I hope CNN becomes more about doing facts, become more like news networks in other countries, maybe, instead of just this bias, instead of muckraking too. I'm tired of the muckraking. That was a thing that used to happen. Tell the truth.
You mentioned getting your news from outside the U.S. I've been doing a lot of getting my news about the, Eastern European conflict, literally from Russian and Eastern European news outlets.
The people who are actually there.
People that are actually there, exactly.
And
as soon as I make an assertion based on something that comes out of a Russian news outlet, oh yeah, well that's just Russian propaganda. I'm like, wait a minute.
You're gonna it between the Ukrainians, the Polish, the Romanians.
Yeah, exactly. You don't believe American news outlets about pandemics and elections and any of this kind of stuff, but you totally believe everything they say about Russia, and therefore I'm not supposed to pay any attention to what Russia says. Really?
You should especially not pay attention to them during a war, because they're not there on the ground knowing what's happening.
Yeah,
they're in their cushy office in like New York or something like that.
Well, they're only believing what Ukraine says. You think that might be a little bit biased? Maybe
not
just
only,
a bit.
Wait, Troy. Not only that, they're also filtering it through their own filters.
You're right. Nope, you're 100% right. Yep.
Anyway, we'll see what happens with CNN. It does strike me as an interesting change, and I don't know if Zaslav is behind this. He may be. I know that they got rid of that CNN streaming service pretty quick, but okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. But it kind of ties into the whole Warner Brothers shakeup, so we'll see what happens. Last story for the night. Nev Campbell won't be back for Scream 6.
I've seen Scream 1. This seems like one of those horror movie franchises that just they do a good first movie, and then they do like 50 other movies, and then maybe one out of maybe like 3 out of 50 of those are good.
Scream is odd in that they surprise me more than I think they would. I expected them to be worse than they are, and they actually pleasantly surprised me. And I really liked this last one they did, because it was really kind of attacking modern Hollywood, the whole requel thing they do, which I love that term requel, because it's awful. It's a reboot / sequel.
It sounds kind of dirty, honestly.
Yeah, well, what it is that you could see parallels with what they did in this last Scream movie, what happened in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which I thought was kind of funny.
Well,
but anyway,
I would say that Afterlife is a perfect example of a requel, right?
Yeah, there you go.
It reboots the series, but it is absolutely a direct sequel.
Yes, exactly.
And in a way that doesn't harm what went before it. If anything, it honors and augments.
It's a reintroduction.
Yeah.
Reintroduction, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
So here's the article. We've officially heard that Nev Campbell won't be reprising her role as Sidney Prescott in Paramount Spyglass Media Scream 6. Word began to leak on the convention circuit with Campbell, and she says today, sadly, I won't be making the next Scream film. As a woman, I've had to work extremely hard in my career to establish my value, especially when it comes to Scream. The actress says about her turn in the $744 million plus grossing global franchise. I felt the author that was presented to me did not equate that value I have brought to the franchise. It's been a very difficult decision to move on. To all my Scream fans, I love you. You've always been so incredibly supportive to me. I'm forever grateful to you and to what the franchise has given me over the past 25 years. That's Campbell.
Sydney was the last
Sydney
girl
Prescott.
from the first
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, she was the final girl for the first movie.
Okay.
She's been in
If
all
I-
the sequels.
If I can just say this, I think one thing she said there perfectly underscores something that we were talking about earlier in the stream when I was pointing out the difference between equity and equality. She said, as a woman, if she cared about equality, she would have said as an actor. But she
Yeah, I know.
said as a woman, speaking to equity. And I'm telling you that that is the most misogynist thing you could do, is say I deserve some special treatment because I'm a woman and I'm oppressed. You know what? As an actor, you need to be as good as everyone else and be treated equally. Just saying. And you know, Boomer, I was saying this before the stream and even in the green room. All of the outlets are painting this as this woman is she knows what she deserves. Apparently she deserves nothing, because she's not going to get paid for a sequel that she's not going to be in. She needs to understand that what she's worth is what they're willing to pay her. And if she doesn't want to work, she doesn't get paid. Congratulations. You are not needed for this movie. The whole idea was you handed it off to the next generation. We were thinking about having you in as a cameo, not as a star, as a cameo. You get paid for a cameo. You don't like that? Bye-bye.
So that may be what went down. We just don't know. It may be that she was not supposed to be the main, because really the new cast are the main people going forward. There was basically a passing of the torch in the last movie. I don't see any need to bring Sydney Bristow back into the franchise going forward. I don't think the sequel needs her to be a good movie, because it really is focusing on these new characters from here on out, and it might be a little silly to keep bringing her back. I wouldn't have minded seeing her again either, but
actually, if they keep bringing her back, eventually she ends up becoming a joke. People are like, can't she do anything better than this? Trying to hold on to the glory days. I mean, she's got a, I don't know, whoever her manager is not.
The wording wasn't great. It is possible too she was being offered a bigger role and they did lowball her. I don't know. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I think at least she said thank you to the fans. That's important, right?
True. But I still don't like her pulling the gender card. I lose all respect
well, that gave me
your argument loses all clout as soon as you do that. You know.
Yes, it shouldn't be about that. And let's be honest, for various movies, especially horror movies, women tend to be the ones that sell the tickets rather than the male leads, especially in slasher type movies.
Actually, people, I appreciate what Stephen Otten is saying here. The Scream movies are fine. Haven't seen the new one. Can't imagine it without Neve Campbell, but who knows? Maybe the new cast members can make future movies their own, and that's the idea, right? You can't keep relying on anyone. It is time to move on. We're not talking about iconic legacy characters like Iron Man and Captain America here. We're talking about, we're making this up as we go. We can do whatever the hell we want. And when an actor starts to age out, we need to start focusing on the young people. Look, people that were Neve Campbell's age when she started doing this.
The character of Sydney Bristow in the Scream movies now, at least by Scream 5, she's married, she has young children. I probably am fine with that character not being dragged back into this.
The problem that you end
nonsense.
up with making an actress so important, so legacy, so crucial, is you end up with what you ended up with Halloween and Jamie Lee Curtis, where you can't. It's not about Michael Myers anymore. It's about Jamie Lee Curtis, and Michael Myers doesn't even have to be Michael Myers anymore. It's like, guys, you're killing this thing. You really are. Anyway.
Prescott Bristow was an alias. Okay, that's right. It was Sydney I got it confused. There you go. Bring Jennifer Garner into the Scream franchise, huh? What do you think?
Yeah. I was thinking Bristow County Jr., but
no, she's right. Sydney Bristow, Sydney Prescott. Okay, whatever. It's the same thing. Not really. Anyway, Scream 5 was good. I enjoyed it a lot. And it was good fun. And I don't think the series necessarily, because we have new characters now.
Did I tell you I did get it
their
on DVD?
story now? Yeah. Oh, you did get Scream 5?
I did get it on DVD. I still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we should do a night where we talk about the Scream movies on Friday. You let me know what you think. And
Well,
I don't think
let's plan on that maybe for closer to the Halloween season.
that's fine. Yeah, but you should rewatch them as time goes on because they're. I like them. I think 3 is the weakest of that series. I actually liked 4. I thought 4 was very underrated. I don't.
You know who
how
my
well
favorite character was? And I'm even forgetting the actor's name. He was the one that played Shaggy.
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah. He was great. Oh, also an important part of Twin Peaks, the revival.
You know, he's still doing Shaggy.
Is he?
He's the voice.
Well, but I heard they recast him in the last movie.
In the movie, I don't know.
So in the animated specials, they still use him.
Okay. Well, good, because he was perfect. He was absolutely freaking perfect.
Do you know what's interesting about Matthew Lillard's character? I think they specified it's possible he could still be alive in the Scream universe because he had a TV dumped on his head, but maybe he survived that, right? So I don't know. I was expecting him to show up in the new one, but he didn't. I heard a rumor that was what's going to happen.
And you know what you do before, for the foreshadowing, is you do the whole, what Scream does, they talk about different movie franchises, and they talk about how just when you think the bad guy's dead, he's not dead because you didn't see a body or he could have survived that or whatever. And then, he comes back at the end of the movie,
Yep. It's interesting because it's not always 2 killers too. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 3. You never know how many people are in on the whole thing.
Have they done a combination where there's more than 1 killer, but there's an additional killer that the others didn't know about? That would be an interesting.
I don't remember. I'd have to go back. I know that they had plans for what they were going to do after 4, which they decided not to do, which I guess was just as well since Wes Craven died not long after Scream 4, so he didn't get to do any more. But I liked the latest one. I thought it was good fun, and I keep expecting the next Scream movie to suck, but they don't. I mean, I think 3 is still the worst one. Even 3 is not terrible. It's just I just thought I felt that at that point was kind of the cash grab. Let's make a 3rd one. But even that's not a bad movie, it's so I recommend watching them all. So yeah. Okay. That's it. What was this one thing?
Have you seen the movie Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon?
No.
It's a fictional it's a fictional documentary. Well, it's a film about the filming of a fictional documentary about a serial killer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very
meta,
kind of dark humor. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of dark humor. And it references like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street stuff as if those killers were real people. Like Jason and Freddy were real, and all the supernatural stuff was made up by Hollywood, but these were like real. Yeah, it's.
Oh, I see. It's like, let's buy the rights to the story. It says, no, make them jump into people's dreams.
And the whole and the whole shtick is that the what are they called? The documentary, the people doing the documentary are literally interviewing the killer and following along with him. And at a certain point, they're like, we can't film you murdering people. At what point are they no longer journalists and documentarians, and are they actually, participants? Yeah. But it's very tongue in cheek.
Well, that was the thing in the old short story or novella Reanimator, Herbert West Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft, where the narrator's talking about all these terrible things that Herbert West is doing and thinking, yeah, but you're helping him.
Yeah.
So what does that make you? It's like, but anyway, okay. So
maybe I'll do a rewatch of Behind the Mask. Maybe I'll do that one when we get closer to Halloween. That would be a good one. Yeah.
Sure.
That's one that I don't think a lot of people know about. But yeah, if you're a fan of Scream,
and slasher
that's
movies,
definitely a film you have to see. Yeah.
All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you everybody for showing up here tonight. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Matchstick, for guesting.
It was a pleasure.
Sure. And we will be on with Mr. Matchstick. Not this Tuesday, but the following week we will be on Culture Fortress, and I have my topic picked. So, and I think Troy is still mulling it about, right?
Yeah. And if I can just, give a shout out to Deleted Scenes, he is like the primo Blue Wrench. He really is. He's been
putting links everywhere. Thank you.
He even dropped a link to this movie that I just mentioned. I mean, he's just Johnny on the spot there, or Steven on the spot, I suppose.
Steven on the spot.
What a Chad.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be Johnny if you want to be. It's a free country, Steven. Don't let Troy. Don't let this Istaphobe tell you what you can be.
Yeah, exactly.
If I feel like a Johnny, I'm a Johnny. If I feel like the Pillsbury Doughboy, I could be the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Stephen Otten identifies as Johnny on the spot today.
Okay. I love all the Scream movies. They are some of my favorites. Have a good night, everyone. Yes, you too, Zootopia.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody have a good night. And what's going on this week? We have Wednesday, I'm on Soundtrack to Birdman to argue about whether or not RoboCop is a superhero, which he is. And then Friday night, we do anything special on your channel, Troy?
Yeah, I am. I don't know what. Of course, I'm looking to see if I can get a guest speaker, maybe Horizon Talker, maybe Stephen Otten if he's interested. But I really loved the format that we did last Friday with
interviewing the author and whatnot.
Yeah. Adega.
We had Adega Outlaw. We had a big one.
I'm getting tired, so I drew a blank. But yeah, Adega. That was really cool. So yeah, I just gotta reach out to somebody and see if I can't lock them in. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe we'll do a rewatch. Maybe you just you get me talking until I get drunk and you guys laugh at me. Whatever. We'll see.
Saturday is Big Al. What's Big Al doing?
Saturday, Big Al is doing no. Blade Runner is the following week on the 25th. This Saturday on Big Al Presents, we are watching Pacific Rim.
I always call that movie Specific Rim.
Specific Rim?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I keep thinking of the adult parody, Pacific Rim Job.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, that's family just where my brain goes. I'll tell you what. I haven't seen either film.
Never seen Pacific Rim. You might get a kick out of it.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to it. In fact, I told Al last night. I said I'm specifically now waiting until we do the watch on his channel, just so I can watch it for the first time with him, and you guys can all get my your first reaction to it.
Your first reactions. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Gundam was a big inspiration for Pacific Rim.
That's what someone was saying recently.
Yeah, because they're in the giant ships. Actually, that was a good follow up to Robot Jocks, I think, right? Because it's both
which we did robots, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, a week ago. Whatever. I get a little.
Guillermo del Toro directed Pacific Rim. You like him?
Speaking of, I do. Of course.
Yeah.
So coming up Tuesday, more importantly, we got to go through what we're.
Okay. It's Tuesday. What's happening?
I don't know. What's going on, Mr. Matchstick? Is something happening on Tuesday?
Wait, no. This Tuesday or next Tuesday?
This Tuesday.
No. Next Tuesday will be Culture Fortress.
Okay, Culture Fortress. Well, you should still be subscribed to Mr. Matchstick and hit the notification bell. Don't listen to me. Don't count on me. I don't know what the hell's going on. If you subscribe and hit the notification bell, you'll always know when he goes
We'll give you a reminder next week, too.
Exactly.
But yeah, and at some point we'll be talking about the second season of Steven Universe, excuse me, Gravity Falls. Okay.
I'll be doing Young Justice on next Tuesday's episode of Culture Fortress. What about you, Ms. Agent? Were you saying?
I'm going to be talking about Studio Ghibli.
That's a good choice. I've seen a few other movies.
Yes, I think it's time. I need something sunnier than what I usually talk about, so we'll do Studio Ghibli.
He's talking about Studio Ghibli. Maybe I'll talk about the adult version, Studio Jumblies. I'm sorry. I'm in rare form tonight.
With you, man. What are you doing? Okay.
Not enough alcohol, I guess.
And what are you going to? And you're going to
Wednesday.
talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't decided yet. I don't know.
Are there any shows from the 70s you haven't done yet? I know we mentioned tripods, but I know. Have you seen tripods? There was also the War of the Worlds TV series. Were you going to do that?
I didn't. I watched.
You never
some
saw
of
that?
it. I didn't. Nah, I watched some of it.
What about Werewolf? Remember Werewolf on Fox?
Oh. Oh, I could do that. Yeah. Okay. I'll do Werewolf.
Oh my goodness, you remember that show? I thought I was the only one that
do.
watched it.
Oh
Okay.
no, I do. I loved that show.
Okay, all right.
That was a
maybe Werewolf.
very underrated show. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch it. Back in the old days, Fox would put
Not Manimal. No, not Manimal. I will not be doing Manimal.
Court himself is pursued by the persistent bounty hunter Alamo Joe Rogan.
Guys, let me tell you, Culture Fortress exists so that we can all expose you to current stuff and stuff from the past that you might not know about, that you've missed out on, that was really good. I will not subject you to horrible stuff like Manimal.
I didn't know that Joe Rogan, before he was a MMA guy and a podcaster, hunted werewolves.
I want to see Manimal now. Jeez. You remember She-Wolf of London, Troy?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the original black and white film. Yeah.
No, the series.
The series?
Oh, you don't know about this. Okay, never mind. There was a series called She-Wolf of London that eventually became Love and Curses. You don't remember any of this?
Heard of this. Was this another Canadian production?
It was a syndicated television show. The first season took place in England, and it was about this American woman that.
Oh, this was in the 90s.
Yeah, she got bit by a werewolf over in England, and I think there was like this English scholar of the occult, and it was like a moonlighting thing, like because he was a dapper British gentleman, and she was like the rough and tumble American woman, like were they gonna get together or not, but she would turn into a werewolf, but they would deal with other supernatural stuff on the show, like the Bog Man or something else. So it was like
So this was a 1-season thing, 20 episodes. So it sounds to me a lot like something very parallel to Werewolf.
Real quick.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to check this out.
All right.
How did I not know about this?
I don't know, but it's something for you to look forward to. There you go.
It
might be good pairing with the Dracula series that we talked about a while back. All right.
I felt Werewolf was, yeah. So yeah.
Well, Matchstick had to use the bathroom. I'm sure Troy has to use it as well. So we should call it a night. But we will be back next week and see you then. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.